Chapter 2086. 2.5 years ago, both Deathblade and Gulong were at the peak of the Absolute Saint realm. But now, both of them had reached the Boundary Emperor realm. After 2 years of accumulation, both of them must have been cultivating in some secret place, so their progress must have been fast. For example, Deathblade, Wuxia, and the others had been sent to a secret place to cultivate and had only recently come out of seclusion. Boom! Boom! The two sons of death kept clashing, and the air of death turned into a terrifying killing power that swept out in all directions. In a short time, the two of them had exchanged more than 100 moves, and it was difficult to determine the winner. Abyss of Death. Gulong used his ultimate move and formed an abyss of death that covered the sky and enveloped Deathblade. He wanted to drag Deathblade into the abyss of death and bury him. Deathblade flashed quickly, wanting to dodge, but the abyss of death was too big. It covered the sky and dragged Deathblade into the abyss of death. Is Deathblade going to lose? Many people's hearts jumped. It's not that easy. They're both sons of death and have similar cultivation. It's not that easy to determine the winner. Someone shook his head. Sure enough, the abyss of death shook, and a terrifying saber light broke out of the abyss of death. Heavenly Saber of Death. A cold voice came from the abyss of death, and a huge saber light slashed out of the abyss of death. Boom! The abyss of death shook and exploded inch by inch. A figure with a terrifying saber light rushed out of the abyss of death. Slash! Deathblade rushed out, and his saber light soared into the sky. Every slash carried a terrifying aura of death. When the saber light slashed out, it was as if even space fell into a deathly silence. Gulong shouted and continued to fight with Deathblade. The usage of every law is different. Even if different people master the same law, the profundities they can unleash will be different. Lu Ming thought as he watched seriously. Watching the battle between Deathblade and Gulong, Lu Ming seemed to understand something. His understanding of the law of death had deepened. Deathblade and Gulong had exchanged hundreds of moves. At this point, both of them had used all their strength and were quite tired. It was a battle of wills and battle experience. I will win. Deathblade shouted, and his hair danced in the wind. His eyes were full of unyielding battle intent. It was as if he would defeat anything placed in front of him. His blade of death became even sharper and more dazzling as it slashed at Gulong. Gulong was gradually at a disadvantage. Deathblade is going to win. Deathblade's willpower is even stronger than Gulong's. We're both sons of death. Today, we're going to determine the victor. Many people were discussing this matter. After another dozen or so moves, Gulong was finally defeated. The blade of death swept across his body, leaving a deep wound that was constantly corroding him. Even though he had also grasped the laws of death, it was difficult for him to erase it in a short period of time. Puff! Gulong spat out a mouthful of blood. His body trembled as if he couldn't believe that he had lost to the Deathblade. The Ten Lands battle hadn't even started and he had already lost to another son of death. This was a huge blow to him. The others sighed as well. After this battle, Deathblade's brilliance was completely revealed, defeating another Elysian child, strengthening his own conviction, as well as his undefeatable conviction. After this battle, the Deathblade would definitely transform and reach a higher level. On the other hand, Gulong's willpower would probably be affected, and he would be even less of a match for the Deathblade in the future. This was also why when Elysian children of death met, there would definitely be a battle. Because only by defeating Elysian children of death and stepping on them could one become stronger, forging an undefeatable conviction and stepping onto the peak. This time, in the Golden Age, there might be more than two sons of death, but at least the Deathblade had defeated one and could continue to fight for supremacy. As for Gulong, he had already lost the qualifications to become the strongest son of death. Unless he had a fortuitous encounter later on, it would be difficult for him to make a comeback. You've lost. The Death Blade said indifferently. I will defeat you in the 10 lands battle. Gulong said. He couldn't admit defeat like this, otherwise, he would never be the Death Blade's opponent in his lifetime. With today's defeat, you will be even less of a match for me in the future. The Death Blade said with an undefeatable conviction. Then, he rose into the air and left this place. After the Death Blade left, Gulong also left this place. The battle ended just like that. Let me tell you, the Death Blade is also from my Yuan Mountain. A prodigy from Yuan Mountain laughed. This surprised some people. Lu Ming also came from Yuan Mountain. Just now, he defeated a son of reincarnation. Moreover, he defeated a son of reincarnation as the weak, which was shocking. And this time, Death Blade defeated another child of death, who also came from the primordial mountain. Yuan Mountain was amazing. Several terrifying prodigies had appeared one after another. Could it be that there were really 6 Elysian children in Yuan Mountain? Some prodigies looked a little dignified. On the emperor-gazing pillar, those Elysian children glanced at Lu Ming one after another, then rose into the air and left this place. Lu Ming. Brother Lu. Some prodigies came over to greet Lu Ming. They were all people who used to cultivate in Yuan Mountain Academy. Some of them were still enemies with Lu Ming at that time. Because at that time, there were 4 major alliances in Yuan Mountain Academy, such as the Divine Fire Alliance and the Knights Association. Now, the leader of the Knights Association greeted Lu Ming with a smile. Brother Luo. Lu Ming nodded. The leader of the Knights Association was called Luo Zhan. Brother Lu is getting stronger and stronger. Now, I'm too far behind you. Luo Zhan sighed. He had a king physique and had now stepped into the quasi-emperor realm. However, Lu Ming could even defeat a quasi-emperor from the Elysian children. He was far behind. Brother Luo, you're too polite. By the way, you came a few days earlier to see Long Chen, Huang Li, and the others. Lu Ming asked. As far as he knew, Long Chen, Huang Li, and some others had already arrived at the Divine Fate Land. Logically speaking, if they were nearby, they should have come to watch such a big show. However, Lu Ming didn't see any of them. Half a month ago, I did see Long Chen and Huang Li. The 2 of them worked together, but I haven't seen them recently. I think they must have left this area and gone to Destiny City. Luo Zhan said. Lu Ming nodded. The Battle of 10 Earths was getting closer and closer. They might have gone to Destiny City first. Brother Lu, are you going to Aeon City? I heard that when you enter Aeon City, the Heavenly Emperor's statue will awaken and emit the Heavenly Tao aura. It's very mysterious and can help people comprehend the Tao. Many people have gone to Aeon City. Luo Zhan said. The Heavenly Emperor's statue has awakened? Lu Ming, Chao Kai, and Qiu Moon were shocked. The Heavenly Emperor's statue was no small matter. Don't you know? Great, we can go together. Luo Zhan said. Okay, let's go take a look. Lu Ming said. Chapter 2087. Aeon City could be said to be the largest city in the south of the Divine Fate Land. It was known as Aeon City and had existed for countless years. This ancient city was occupied by several huge forces. In history, more than one celestial emperor had appeared, and it was extremely powerful. Recently, in Aeon City, there was a famous celestial emperor statue that had actually awakened, exuding the aura of the heavenly Tao that could help people comprehend the Tao, attracting countless people to come. Moreover, it just so happened that the Battle of 10 Earths was approaching. Countless people from all over rushed over, so naturally, there were more people. Lu Ming and the others walked on the street, looking around and exclaiming in amazement. Aeon City was no smaller than Celestial City in the land of Yuan Mountain. In fact, it was even more majestic. Soon, they arrived at their destination, the Celestial Emperor statue. A huge statue, carved from jade, was 1,000 meters tall, standing in the center of Aeon City. It was a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance. He stood with his hands behind his back, but he had a kind of aura that could swallow the world and sweep away the world. This was the Celestial Emperor statue. It was only a statue at first, but now, the statue was emitting rays of light that illuminated the area. A mystical aura was emitted from it. Is there a Celestial Emperor in Aeon City now? Lu Ming asked, his heart was not calm. No, legend has it that there are almost no Celestial Emperors in the Yuan realm now. Chao Kai said. No Celestial Emperors? Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and the others were all puzzled. Yes, I also heard that most of the Celestial Emperors have gone to the Heaven realm to participate in the war. Perhaps, a few of them stayed in the Yuan realm, but it has been a long time since a Celestial Emperor appeared. Chao Kai said. Lu Ming nodded. The Yuan realm, from ancient times until now, must have given birth to some Celestial Emperors. The Celestial Emperors no longer had a great calamity, their lifespan was endless, and their combat strength was unparalleled. If they did not encounter a great enemy, they would almost never fall. But now, it was almost impossible to see a Celestial Emperor in the Yuan realm, so it was very likely that they really went to the Heaven realm to participate in the war. For example, in the land of Yuan Mountain, it was impossible for only Celestial Emperor Heng Yu to be born. There must be other Celestial Emperors. How intense is the war in the Heaven realm? Lu Ming's heart was in turmoil. Even the Celestial Emperor had gone to the Heaven realm to participate in the war. One could imagine how terrifying the war was. Under the huge statue of the Celestial Emperor, there were many people sitting cross-legged, mainly young people. An old man at the side explained. Although the revival of the Heavenly Emperor's statue was miraculous, it was mainly useful for cultivators below Martial Emperor. Even low-level Faux Emperors might be of some use. However, for those with higher cultivations, it would not be of much use. Let's go too. Lu Ming said. After that, Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, Chao Kai, Luo Zhan, and the others walked to the Heavenly Emperor's statue and sat down cross-legged in an empty space. Along the way, they saw many geniuses. Most of the Elysian children who had appeared on the Emperor-gazing pillar had appeared here. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. His mind was empty. All of a sudden, he felt a gush of energy shrouding him. That gush of energy seemed to allow his mind to pass through layers of space and become one with heaven. The heavenly Tao contained everything. The myriad of laws of the world were all within the heavenly Tao. Lu Ming's mind shuddered as he began to comprehend the law of death. He could feel that his understanding of the law of death was extremely clear. It was even clearer and faster than when he was comprehending under the Tao Comprehension Ancient Tree. This is a good place. Lu Ming wore a smile on his face as he began to comprehend the law of death. He mainly focused on comprehending the law of death and the law of devour. Time gradually passed. His progress in comprehending the two laws was extremely fast. Every day, he would spend half of his time comprehending the law of death and the other half comprehending the law of devour. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Lu Ming's comprehension of the law of death had reached 85%, while his comprehension of the law of devour had reached 92%. Comprehending the law of death was more difficult as one progressed. It was shocking to have such a great progress in just a month. On this day, while Lu Ming was comprehending the law of death, he suddenly felt his hair stand on end as he felt a murderous intent looming over him. Although he was cultivating, he was more or less paying attention to the outside world. If someone was hostile to him, he would immediately be alerted. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and looked behind him. Behind him, a young man was walking over and looking coldly at Lu Ming. Bang! The young man stopped at a spot not far from Lu Ming. "You're Lu Ming?" The young man spoke indifferently, full of arrogance. Lu Ming frowned slightly. He did not know this person, but he could feel that this person did not come with good intentions. "That's right," Lu Ming replied. At this time, many people outside the statue were not cultivating and noticed Lu Ming and the young man. "It's Mu Yang of the Mu clan. He's an extremely terrifying genius. It's said that he's the son of the void who controls the law of nothingness. He reached the quasi-emperor realm a long time ago." "Who is that young man?" "Mu Yang seems to be hostile to him." "I know. That young man is from the Yuan mountain. He's the son of chaos with a peak absolute saint cultivation. He defeated the quasi-emperor son of reincarnation, Yu He." "What? He's the son of chaos? And he defeated the quasi-emperor son of reincarnation with a peak absolute saint cultivation?" Many people were shocked when they heard the truth. The son of chaos was already shocking. Moreover, he was a peak absolute saint and defeated the quasi-emperor son of reincarnation. This was even more shocking. "My name is Mu Yang. Yuan Xian is my good friend." At this time, the young man spoke. "Yuan Xian?" Lu Ming was puzzled. He had never heard of this name. What did Mu Yang have to do with Yuan Xian? "My good friend Yuan Xian is also the son of chaos." "You've met him before?" Mu Yang said indifferently. "The son of chaos? Could it be him?" Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. He thought of the son of chaos he met during the Hunyuan sect's assessment. "Yuan Xian once mentioned you, saying that you control the primal chaos emperor's primal chaos scripture. He's now in seclusion to break through to a higher realm. As his good friend, I naturally have to share his burden. Hand over your primal chaos scripture." Mu Yang said indifferently. Although his voice wasn't loud, it had a commanding tone. "It's really that person." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The only person who knew that Lu Ming had the primal chaos scripture was the son of chaos who had also been to the primal chaos palace. The son of chaos was extremely rare. It was even harder to be born than the other sons of heaven. Lu Ming hadn't heard of any other sons of chaos who had mastered the law of chaos. "If you want the primal chaos scripture, let's see if you have the ability." Lu Ming spoke, his voice turning cold. "Oh, so you're saying that you want to fight me? Don't think that you're invincible just because you defeated Yu He. In the divine fate land, there are many people stronger than Yu He." Mu Yang said coldly. "You'll know if you try." Lu Ming smiled faintly. Boom! A terrifying aura erupted from Mu Yang's body. Waves of energy rushed toward Lu Ming like shock waves. Chapter 2088. Lu Ming and Mu Yang faced each other, an icy cold aura pervading the area, causing many people who were cultivating to wake up. "What's going on? It's Mu Yang, and that Lu Ming." Many people were shocked and angry, but when they saw that it was Mu Yang and Lu Ming, they all shut their mouths. They could see that the two peerless geniuses had a conflict, and were about to fight. Boom! Mu Yang attacked, his palm was covered with a layer of light. It was extremely terrifying, as if even space had turned into nothingness, causing the area around his palm to look like a black hole. Boom! Lu Ming went up, using the primal chaos divine palm. His palm turned gray, like a primal chaos stone. The two's palms heavily collided. It was as if a great bell had vibrated. A terrifying force formed rings of shockwaves that swept out in all directions. Many people's bodies blossomed with light, blocking the shockwaves. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming and Mu Yang's bodies trembled. They continued to exchange a few blows, but there was no clear victor. What a powerful force! Lu Ming felt that Mu Yang's power was like a storm, pressing down on him. Combined with the law of nothingness, it almost broke his law of primal chaos and turned him into nothingness. This Mu Yang was definitely stronger than Yu He. You do have some strength, no wonder you are so arrogant, but this strength is not enough. Mu Yang's eyes seemed to blossom with a strange light, it was the light of nothingness, his aura became stronger and stronger. But at this moment, an incomparably terrifying aura exploded from the sky, a terrifying pressure, like an immemorial mountain, pressed down on Lu Ming and Mu Yang, causing their bodies to stiffen. Unknowingly, a white-haired old man had appeared in the sky. The old man looked down at Lu Ming and Mu Yang, coldly saying, in front of the heavenly emperor's statue, no impudence, no fighting, violators will be killed. Since it's your first offense, I will let you go this time, if you want to fight, go somewhere else. Lu Ming and Mu Yang retracted their auras, but their eyes were still coldly staring at each other. Do you dare to fight with me on the stage? Mu Yang said coldly. He was extremely confident in himself. Previously, although the battle prowess Lu Ming had displayed was very shocking, he was confident that he could defeat Lu Ming because he had not used his full strength just now. Why wouldn't I dare? Lu Ming replied indifferently. Senior, let us go. Mu Yang said to the old man in the sky. The old man withdrew his aura, and the pressure on Lu Ming and the others disappeared. Come if you have the guts. Mu Yang left behind these words before stepping into the air and leaving. Lu Ming smiled and followed him. Xiao Yu, Chao Kai, and the rest hurried to catch up. The son of primal chaos is going to battle Mu Yang. Let's go take a look. I heard that Mu Yang advanced to Quasi-Emperor long ago and is already preparing to break through to Martial Emperor. His combat prowess is extremely strong. That Lu Ming has not advanced to Quasi-Emperor yet, he actually dares to accept the challenge? The heavenly sons are all proud and arrogant. How can they not accept a challenge? However, I think that Lu Ming will most likely lose this time. After all, he is only a complete paragon saint. I think so too. No matter how strong a complete paragon saint is, there is a limit to it. Voices could be heard all around. Of course, Lu Ming could hear them. He guessed that Mu Yang had already started to develop a small world. Such a person could already prepare to break through to Martial Emperor. Not long after, they came to a spacious area. There was a huge battle stage here. At this moment, there were two people fighting on the stage. They were two youths with king bodies. Their combat prowess was not weak. However, Mu Yang was extremely domineering. He directly flew towards the battle stage and stepped on it. He shouted, "Both of you, get down." The terrifying void light caused the two youths' expressions to change drastically. They quickly retreated and landed at the edge of the battle stage, looking at Mu Yang with ugly expressions. They were in the middle of a battle, and Mu Yang had directly asked them to get down. This was an insult to them. What? Why are you still here? Do you want to fight with me? Mu Yang looked at the two youths with king bodies and his voice was filled with displeasure. The two youths did not dare to fight with Mu Yang. In the end, they could only swallow their anger and jump down from the battle stage. Many people around them were unhappy. Mu Yang was too domineering. However, no one stood out to criticize him. Not only was Mu Yang powerful, but the force behind him was also terrifying. No one was willing to offend him. Lu Ming, get down here and fight with me. Mu Yang's voice resounded in all directions. Don't shout so loudly. I won't run. Lu Ming said indifferently. He stepped into the air and landed on the battle stage. Lu Ming, I advise you to obediently hand over the primal chaos scripture. This time, I can let you go and let you participate in the battle of the 10 Earths. Otherwise, you won't even be able to participate in the battle of the 10 Earths. Mu Yang said coldly. Of course, he was transmitting his message to Lu Ming. He did not transmit it to anyone else. I said, if you want it, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Lu Ming smiled coldly. Stubborn. Then I'll let you see what it means by there's always someone better than you. Mu Yang's eyes were cold. His body emitted a cold killing intent. Boom. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming. His body was enveloped in the light of the void as he charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the law of primal chaos and went up to meet him. This time, they were not under the Heavenly Emperor's statue but on the battle stage. There was no need to hold back. The two of them fought without restraint. Boom. Boom. The two of them clashed continuously. The battle stage rumbled and exploded continuously. The two of them fought with speed. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 blows. The fighting ring was surrounded by people, densely packed with people. There were many terrifying geniuses. Many of them were sons of the heavens. Lu Ming is no match for Mu Yang. He said. Previously, he had fought with Lu Ming and was aware of Lu Ming's strength. Amitba. That may not be the case. I think that Lu Ming will win. Monk Wuchen of Wuxia Temple chanted the name of Buddha and said with a smile. These words caused everyone's expression to change. Monk Wuchen controlled the law of cause and effect. Everything in the world was related to cause and effect. He might be able to see through cause and effect. You said that Lu Ming hid his strength when he fought with me previously? Yuhi's eyes shone brightly. He was unwilling to believe it. I can't say. You'll know when you continue watching. Monk Wuchen smiled. It was unfathomable. At that moment, Lu Ming and Mu Yang had exchanged more than 10 blows. At that moment, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. He has indeed started to evolve a small world. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Mu Yang had already started to break through to the martial emperor realm. He had started to use the law of cause as a foundation to evolve a small world. His saint force contained a trace of the power of a small world. Its power was shocking. Now, Lu Ming had only used the law of primal chaos and was already at a disadvantage. Lu Ming, I have said that you are no match for me. Mu Yang launched a flurry of attacks. At the same time, his cold and arrogant voice entered Lu Ming's ears. It's too early for you to be happy. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Chapter 2089. If one type of law wasn't enough, then he would use two. Lu Ming's muscles bulged as his saint power surged. Silently, he merged the Array Dao law into the Primal Chaos law. Boom! Lu Ming's palm power suddenly increased as he struck out, breaking Mu Yang's law of nothingness. Mu Yang's expression changed as his body shook and he couldn't help but retreat. Your power? How is that possible? Mu Yang said in shock. How could Lu Ming's power suddenly increase? He was much stronger than before. He couldn't see that Lu Ming had merged two types of laws. In the land of infinite demons, Lu Ming had stayed in the canyon of the demon sea for more than 2 years. Every day, he would challenge and fight. He was already extremely proficient in the use of laws. When he used a few types of laws, he could use the primal chaos law to cover up the other laws. Of course, if he used 2 types of supreme laws at the same time, it wouldn't be able to be covered up because supreme laws were too strong. But when he used supreme laws and monarch Dao law, he could cover it up so that others couldn't see it. Therefore, Mu Yang couldn't understand how Lu Ming's power had increased so much. Around the battle stage, the others were also shocked. Lu Ming had suddenly exploded and forced Mu Yang to retreat. Lu Ming indeed hid his strength when he fought with me previously. He sighed as his eyes were filled with disappointment. He still wanted to defeat Lu Ming in the Ten Lands battle, but now it seemed that it would be difficult. Amitabha. Monk Wuchen chanted a Buddhist chant. When the other Elysian children looked at Lu Ming, their expressions were grave. Lu Ming's combat strength was too strong and exceeded common sense. Kill. On the battle stage, Lu Ming roared as he charged towards Mu Yang. Every move of his contained the fusion of the primal chaos law and the array Dao law. Its power was astonishing. Moreover, the array Dao law was already perfect, so its power was even greater. The fusion of the laws didn't increase the power by as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Instead, it increased exponentially. The more laws were fused, the stronger the power. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming and Mu Yang once again clashed, but this time, Mu Yang was completely suppressed, falling into a disadvantageous position. He was no match for Lu Ming, and every time they clashed, his body would violently tremble, as if he had been struck by an ancient divine mountain. His incomparably powerful saint energy was actually useless. He could not block it. Impossible, how is this possible? Mu Yang simply couldn't accept it. He had already begun to develop a small world. Once the time was right, he would be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. Xiao Chen was already infinitely close to martial emperor. Furthermore, he was a firmament scion. He was much stronger than those firmament scions who had just advanced to quasi-emperor. However, Lu Ming was only at the peak of the absolute saint realm. His law of chaos hadn't formed a river yet. How could he be so strong? He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He roared angrily and used all of his strength, but he was still suppressed by Lu Ming. The Sea of Void. In the end, Mu Yang executed his strongest move. This was a terrifying magic skill with boundless power. It pushed the Law of Void's power to its limits, forming a sea of Law of Void that enveloped everything. It wanted to turn everything into nothingness. In reality, many people grasped more than one magic skill after becoming a quasi-emperor. This was because after becoming a quasi-emperor and reaching the peak of the Law of Chaos, one could easily grasp other magic skills and raise them to their limits. It was just like how Lu Ming cultivated the primal chaos divine palm. Of course, the prerequisite was that one had to have a corresponding magic skill. The Sea of Nothingness was Mu Yang's trump card. Splash! It really sounded like waves crashing. Lu Ming was enveloped by the Sea of Void. Turn into nothingness. Mu Yang roared, his voice filled with boundless killing intent. At this moment, he no longer wanted to take the primal chaos scripture from Lu Ming. Instead, he wanted to kill Lu Ming. The Battle of the 10 Earths had yet to begin. He could not lose. Once he lost, he would suffer a crushing defeat in the Battle of the 10 Earths. What a terrifying magic skill. Lu Ming is in danger. Someone exclaimed. The Law of Void turned into an ocean and enveloped an area. It was simply too terrifying. Many people could not help but worry for Lu Ming. Mu Yang can be said to be a seated expert in this Battle of the 10 Earths. He has a high chance of entering the top 10. When he erupts, his battle strength is truly shocking. That's right. In the past, Mu Yang was almost invincible in the Divine Fate land. There were only a few people in the younger generation who could defeat him. Some people spoke. However, Autumn Moon and Chao Kai's eyes were calm. There was no worry in their eyes. Autumn Moon knew very well how strong Lu Ming was when he erupted with his full strength. As for Chao Kai, he had seen Lu Ming fight before. They knew that Lu Ming had not used his full strength yet. Rumble. Mu Yang stood above the Sea of Void. His eyes were cold as he constantly used the Law of Void to ensure that Lu Ming would be turned into nothingness. But in the next instant, Mu Yang's expression changed. Because the Sea of Void had started to shake. It was as if there was a giant beast stirring up the winds and clouds. Boom! In the end, an incomparably huge finger that looked like the finger of a god charged out of the sea of void. Boom! Boom! Next, primal chaos tribulation fingers charged out from various parts of the sea of void. The sea of void turned into a beehive. Then, with a violent explosion, it completely exploded. Impossible! Mu Yang roared in disbelief. His body shook violently as he retreated. Blood flowed out of his mouth. Nothing is impossible. Kill! The sea of void disappeared and Lu Ming's figure appeared. He was unscathed as he roared and charged at Mu Yang. Boom! The large hand pressed down. Mu Yang was already injured and was no match for Lu Ming. He was sent flying dozens of meters and spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ming followed closely behind. He did not give Mu Yang any chance to catch his breath as he launched a torrential barrage of attacks at Mu Yang. Mu Yang was already injured and was no match for Lu Ming. After exchanging a few blows with Lu Ming, he felt as if his arm was about to break as he continued to spit out blood. Bang! Finally, he was unable to block and was struck by Lu Ming's palm on his chest. His chest caved in from the blow and almost exploded into a large hole. If not for his powerful law light and astonishing defensive power, his body would have exploded from this move. But even so, he was still lying on the ground, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. He was severely injured. With your strength, you still want to get the primal chaos scripture from me? Let Yuan Xian do it herself. Lu Ming looked down at Mu Yang and said coldly, full of disdain. Mu Yang was mad with hatred. He wished he could chop Lu Ming into 8 pieces. Lu Ming, let me tell you. I have already investigated you. You have many friends in Yuan Mountain. Now, there are a few people who are guests in my Mu family. You better hand over the primal chaos scripture and follow me to the Mu family. Otherwise, all your friends will die. Mu Yang suddenly said coldly. Of course, he was transmitting his voice. What? Lu Ming was shocked. Chapter 2090. Seeing Lu Ming's shock, Mu Yang sneered. Ever since he knew that there was a son of chaos in Yuan Mountain who was Yuan Xian's nemesis, he had been paying attention to Yuan Mountain. When the geniuses of Yuan Mountain came to the Divine Fate Land, he began to investigate, wanting to know Lu Ming's whereabouts and deal with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not come, but he found out about Lu Ming's friends, and he immediately sent people to capture them. It was just a precaution, but he did not expect it to come in handy. There are 2 people who control the law of force, one is called Long Chen, and the other is called Desolate Force. They are both in my Mu family. Lu Ming, follow me to the Mu family and hand over the primal chaos scripture. Mu Yang laughed and transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. His heart was filled with cold killing intent. Today, Lu Ming had defeated him in front of everyone, and in his opinion, it was a great humiliation. As long as Lu Ming stepped into the Mu family, he would make Lu Ming regret it. You deserve to die. Lu Ming said coldly, staring at Mu Yang with a cold gaze. At that moment, his killing intent was extremely dense. It seemed that Long Chen and Desolate Force had indeed fallen into Mu Yang's hands. You still dare to threaten me at this time? Mu Yang's face was gloomy. I said you're stupid, you really are. You shouldn't have said it here, at this time. Lu Ming said coldly. Mu Yang's face changed drastically, and he shouted, "What are you trying to do?" At the same time, he quickly retreated, but it was too late. Lu Ming's body was like a bolt of lightning, rushing towards Mu Yang. Boom! This time, Lu Ming had also integrated the law of devour, making Lu Ming's battle strength even stronger. With one strike, Mu Yang's arms directly exploded, turning into flesh and blood that splattered everywhere. The terrifying power directly pierced through Mu Yang's protective light of laws and pierced through his body, revealing a hole that went straight through his front and back. Mu Yang fell to the ground and screamed. Crack! In the next moment, Lu Ming rushed over and stepped on Mu Yang's legs, breaking them. Mu Yang let out a hysterical scream. Lu Ming, I'll kill you! Mu Yang roared. Bang! In the next moment, Lu Ming stomped on Mu Yang's face, almost crushing his head. Mu Yang vomited a large mouthful of blood, and almost all of his teeth fell out. Tell your men to bring my friend here in exchange for you. If my friend loses a single hair, I'll kill you. Lu Ming said coldly. You dare? Mu Yang roared. Bang! Lu Ming stepped on his face again, causing Mu Yang to scream miserably. At this moment, Mu Yang was filled with regret. He was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. He should not have mentioned that he had captured Long Chen and Desolate Force on the fighting ring. He had not expected Lu Ming to be so decisive. The main reason was that the force behind him was too strong. Therefore, he subconsciously thought that Lu Ming would not dare to do anything to him. Also, Lu Ming's friend was in his hands. He thought that he had everything under control, but he had not expected Lu Ming to take him down directly. The main reason was that Lu Ming was too decisive. In an instant, he had thought of a way to save Mu Yang. Ordinary people would not have thought of it and would not be so decisive. Around the fighting ring, many people looked at each other. Because Mu Yang had spoken to them through voice transmission, they did not know the whole story and were very confused. They did not understand why Lu Ming had suddenly gone crazy and tortured Mu Yang. How dare you? Let go of young Master Mu Yang. Brat, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you're the son of chaos. If you offend the Mu family, you'll die without a burial ground. At the scene, a few experts from the Mu family roared, and a terrifying aura erupted from their bodies. They were all martial emperors. If you guys continue to blabber, I'll kill him. Lu Ming coldly glanced at the martial emperors and said coldly. His voice was filled with cold killing intent. The martial emperors from the Mu family all shut up. Mu Yang was the #1 genius of the Mu family. His talent was peerless. Nothing could happen to him. Why aren't you calling people to bring my friend here? Lu Ming lowered his head and looked down at Mu Yang. At this moment, Mu Yang was being stepped on by Lu Ming. He was incomparably humiliated. If there was a crack in the fighting ring, he would find a crack and hide in it. He was the son of the Void, a genius who was about to break through to the martial emperor realm. He was known as one of the strongest factions in the Battle of the 10 Earths. However, at this moment, he was being ruthlessly stepped on by Lu Ming. He really could not bear it. However, the cold killing intent from Lu Ming's body told him that Lu Ming would really kill him. Go and bring people here. Finally, Mu Yang roared and called the experts of the Mu family to bring people here. The experts of the Mu family had ugly expressions, but in the end, they still left and flew towards the Mu family. The headquarters of the Mu family was in Aeon City. It seems that Mu Yang has captured Lu Ming's friend. Through the conversation between Lu Ming and Mu Yang, many people could see what was going on. No wonder Lu Ming was suddenly furious. At the same time, everyone was even more shocked. Lu Ming's ability was too powerful. It had reached a terrifying level. Is his cultivation really still at the peak of the Absolute Saint realm? He hasn't broken through to the Boundary Emperor realm? Some people spoke, finding it hard to believe. His laws have not formed a river. He is indeed at the peak of the Absolute Saint realm. An expert spoke and confirmed Lu Ming's cultivation. This made everyone gasp. Lu Ming's physical body is extremely powerful, far surpassing that of an ordinary son of the heavens. I reckon that he must have had a heaven-defying fortuitous encounter, causing his physical body to become shockingly powerful. His combat strength has also greatly increased. An older generation figure spoke. They had seen through the situation. Although his physical body is powerful, his law power is even more terrifying. He is strong in all aspects and has almost no weakness. Another older generation figure spoke. Monster. Many people sighed. Fortunately, this person's cultivation is low. If his cultivation was high, who would be his match in this battle of the 10 lands? It's hard to say. Don't forget that this generation has given birth to a son of destiny. These words caused many people to be greatly shocked. Yes, a son of destiny. This was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying figure, a true invincible figure. Also, the ancient cultivation system has also appeared. Someone has cultivated it to a terrifying level. Also, the son of Chaos Yuan Xian is said to be in seclusion to break through to the martial emperor realm. Following that, someone spoke, causing everyone's hearts to tremble again. Meanwhile, some sons of the heavens had extremely solemn expressions. This time, the battle of the 10 lands would probably be incomparably intense. It would become a shocking event. Lu Ming did not wait for too long. In less than half an hour, a group of people flew over. They were the experts of the Mu family. They flew over with 2 young men. Long Chen, Huang Li. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. The 2 young men were Long Chen and Huang Li, Lu Ming. Long Chen and Huang Li also saw Lu Ming and revealed a look of shock. When they saw Mu Yang being stepped on by Lu Ming, they knew what had happened. Lu Ming, what you're doing is too dangerous. Long Chen sighed with a solemn expression. We're friends. Chapter 2091. Yes, they were friends. If they were friends, how could they leave them in the lurch? If the situation was reversed and Lu Ming was in danger, they would definitely save him. Long Chen, Huang Li, is it just the 2 of you? Is there anyone else? Lu Ming inquired. If there were others captured by Mu Yang, he would save them as well. No, it's just the 2 of us. That bastard, I'll kill him one day. Huang Li spoke, looking at Mu Yang unhappily. Swap. Lu Ming looked at the Mu family's experts. Hand over young Master Mu Yang first, then we'll let him go. One of the Mu family's experts said cunningly. Nonsense, hand him over, or I'll cripple him now. Lu Ming said coldly, a long spear appeared in his hand, pressing against Mu Yang's dantian. The Mu family's experts' faces changed. Mu Yang's identity was too important, they didn't dare to gamble. In their eyes, Long Chen, Huang Li, and the others were just king physiques, how could their value be compared to Mu Yang's? Alright, we'll let him go. One of the Mu family's experts shouted, releasing Long Chen and Huang Li. The 2 of them quickly flew to Lu Ming's side. Now, you can let young Master Mu Yang go. One of the Mu family's experts said. Let him go now. Do you think I'm stupid? This is Aeon City, your Mu family's territory. If I let him go now, won't your Mu family's experts kill me with a slap? Lu Ming sneered. Brat, don't push your luck, one of the Mu family's experts roared. The other Mu family's experts had ugly expressions. They had indeed hidden experts in the dark. As long as Lu Ming let Mu Yang go, the Mu family's experts would take action and kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Only death awaited those who dared to threaten their Mu family. However, Lu Ming didn't fall for their trick, which made them furious. The rest of the people were also secretly amazed. They were amazed by Lu Ming's courage and his meticulousness. What do you mean I'm going overboard? I'm doing this to save my own life. Your young Master Mu Yang's life is so precious. If he were to die because of us, honestly speaking, it's not worth it at all. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed Lu Ming's neck, causing Mu Yang's eyes to spit fire. He wished he could chop Lu Ming into pieces. What do you want to do? In the end, the Mu family compromised, and an expert spoke. Tell us to leave the city. Your Mu family can't follow us. I have a secret technique that allows me to sense the aura of experts. Once we leave the city, I'll immediately kill Mu Yang. It'll be a life and death struggle. Lu Ming said. As for what kind of secret technique he had that could allow him to sense the aura of experts, it was pure nonsense to deceive the Mu clan. There was nothing he could do about it. He was facing a colossus like the Mu clan, and he couldn't use his celestial emperor body right now, so he could only use some other methods. How can we trust you? What if you harm young Master Mu Yang after leaving the city? An expert of the Mu clan spoke, not wanting to back down. You can only take a gamble, there's no other choice. Lu Ming's voice resounded, causing the Mu clan's experts to narrow their eyes, revealing killing intent. Moreover, your Mu clan is so powerful, and I don't have any great enmity with you. There's no need for me to offend the Mu clan, so why would I kill Mu Yang? I'm not crazy. Lu Ming continued. The Mu clan's experts fell silent. Lu Ming was right. If Lu Ming really killed Mu Yang, he would have to face the Mu clan's crazy revenge. To Lu Ming, there was no benefit at all. Alright, we agree. Kid, you better not play any tricks. One of the Mu clan's experts said. Of course not. Long Chen, Huang Li, let's go. Lu Ming lifted Mu Yang and flew out, with Long Chen and Huang Li following closely behind. Your Mu clan, it's best if no one else follows. Lu Ming's gaze swept over the others. Some of them wanted to join in the fun, but Lu Ming wouldn't allow that. What if the Mu clan's people were mixed in with them? Everyone, please stay. The Mu clan's people were helpless. They knew that Lu Ming's thoughts were meticulous, and there was no loophole. They could only block the others. The Mu clan's power was incomparably powerful. The others naturally wouldn't go against the Mu clan, so they all stopped. Lu Ming's group of 3 brought Mu Yang out of Aeon City with extreme speed. Of course, Qiu Yu also followed. As for Chao Kai, Lu Ming transmitted a message to him to stay in Aeon City. Because Chao Kai and Lu Ming didn't have much of a relationship, and they just met, the Mu clan shouldn't make things difficult for him. Not long after, Lu Ming's group left Aeon City. Lu Ming didn't let go of Mu Yang immediately. He was afraid that if the Mu clan's experts were high up in the sky, it would be troublesome. Lu Ming used Array Dao Law to completely seal Mu Yang. Not long after, they arrived at a large mountain. Lu Ming's group rushed into a cave, hiding from all sight. This brat is so young, but his thoughts are too meticulous. High up in the sky, there were indeed 2 figures. These 2 were experts from the Mu clan. They were incomparably terrifying as they were both peak true emperors. They concealed their auras and hid in the sky. As long as Lu Ming let go of Mu Yang, they would attack and kill Lu Ming's group. However, Lu Ming was very careful and hid in the cave. They couldn't see him and didn't dare to use their spiritual senses. If Lu Ming sensed them, they might really kill Mu Yang. They could only wait. Xiao Yu, Long Chen, Huang Li, use your divine aura technique and hide in my mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming said to the 3 Xiao Yu in the cave. Just the mountain and river diagram alone wasn't enough. True emperors were too strong and could sense the aura inside a heavenly grotto. Only by using the divine aura technique together with the mountain and river diagram could they isolate the aura of the other party. The 3 Qiu Yu had cultivated the divine aura technique before. The 3 nodded and used it to enter the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming threw Mu Yang into the cave and coldly stared at him. Tell Yuan Xian that I will cut off his head sooner or later. With that, Lu Ming's body sank into the ground and disappeared from sight. Lu Ming converted the law of primal chaos into the law of the earth and sank into the ground for 100 miles. At the same time, he used the divine aura technique to conceal his aura as much as possible before heading deeper into the divine fate ground. Lu Ming didn't kill Mu Yang because he knew that Mu Yang would definitely seek revenge. However, if he did, he would have to face the wrath of the entire Mu clan and even Grand Emperors. That would be even more dangerous. In the sky, the two true emperors had been waiting for half a day. They had lost their patience. "It's been so long, let's go down and take a look," one of them said. The other nodded. The two of them rushed down and arrived at the cave. They saw that Mu Yang was covered in dense symbols. One of the true emperors waved his hand and broke the seal on Mu Yang's body. "Ah, damn it, I will tear that brat to pieces." Mu Yang roared crazily after regaining his freedom. This time, he had lost too much face and became a laughingstock. His hatred for Lu Ming would never be washed away. Send someone to find that brat. Chapter 2092. Lu Ming traveled underground for more than a day. He didn't know how far he had traveled before Lu Ming came out of the ground. After coming out of the ground, Lu Ming transformed into a dark-skinned youth. He used the divine breathing technique and took out a goshawk puppet. This goshawk puppet was given to him by Chao Kai. When it spread its wings, it was 100 meters wide and its speed was 100 times faster than the shuttle. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on it and flew toward Destiny City. For the time being, Lu Ming didn't let Chiu Moon and the other two out. He let them cultivate in the mountain and river diagram. This place was still very far away from Destiny City. 2 days later, Lu Ming came to a teleportation area. Through the teleportation array, he finally arrived near Destiny City. At this time, Lu Ming let Chiu Moon, Long Chen, and Huang Li come out of the mountain and river diagram and rushed towards Destiny City. Tianming City was majestic and had been standing on this piece of land for countless years. Legend had it that Tianming City was the first ancient city in the primordial realm. It had existed for countless years, and after countless years of expansion, it occupied a vast area. Naturally, there were terrifying forces entrenched in Tianming City. Some people even said that there was a heavenly emperor in Destiny City. No one could verify this news, but it was definitely shocking. Legend had it that most heavenly emperors had gone to the heavenly world to participate in the war. It had been many years since a heavenly emperor had appeared in the Yuan continent. That was why there was a saying that emperors were the pinnacle if a heavenly emperor didn't appear. Furthermore, because the Battle of the 10 Earths was coming, countless young geniuses from all over the Yuan continent had gathered in Destiny City. Therefore, the strongest forces in Destiny City had announced that no killing was allowed in Destiny City during this period of time. If there was a fight, it could be on a fixed stage. This was to protect the young geniuses. Apart from the young geniuses, there were even more martial emperors. During this period of time, the experts in Destiny City would gather. If they didn't control it, it would definitely be chaotic. This was also the reason why Lu Ming and the others rushed to Destiny City. The Mu clan wouldn't give up. Right now, Destiny City was the safest place. Not long after, Lu Ming and the others finally entered Destiny City. Even though they had seen the likes of Celestial City and Aeon City, Destiny City still gave them a great shock. Because it was simply too ancient, too vicissitudes of life, too vast. Tianming City was like another world. It contained everything, mountains, rivers, and even various forbidden grounds. Over the years, countless experts had been born, and naturally, there were also countless opportunities. The origin qi in this land was extremely dense. The four of them strolled around the city before settling down at an inn. Although it was called an inn, it was actually a huge courtyard. There were a total of 8 rooms, and the area was extremely large. Of course, the price was also shocking. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and the others had been in Destiny City for 7 days. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened. The Mu clan hadn't come looking for them. Tianming City is so vast, and it can be said to be the most prosperous place in the Yuan continent. I wonder if I can buy the Law of Death divine ability. Lu Ming pondered as he ended his cultivation. The further one cultivated the Law of Death, the harder it was to comprehend it. Lu Ming felt that he needed a Law of Death divine ability. That way, they could complement each other, and it would be faster for him to improve. Thinking of this, Lu Ming walked out of the inn and asked around. Then, he went to the largest trading place in Destiny City. The largest trading place in Tianming City was also the largest trading place in Yuan continent. It had everything. When Lu Ming walked in, he was dazzled by what he saw. There were all kinds of treasures. Lu Ming even saw a few rare treasures in the world. Lu Ming was very envious. Of course, the prices were also shockingly expensive. However, no one dared to rob here because this place was built by the strongest forces in Destiny City. It was said that there were terrifying experts overseeing this place. Even great emperors had to behave themselves. Lu Ming walked around and bought some spiritual liquid, intending to water the Enlightenment ancient tree. After that, he came to a shop that specialized in selling secret manuals. "Young master, how may I help you?" As soon as Lu Ming entered the shop, a young and beautiful lady approached him with a gentle smile on her face. Lu Ming didn't disguise himself. After coming to Destiny City, he returned to his original appearance. "I want to buy a divine ability." Lu Ming smiled. "May I know what Law of Death divine ability you are looking for? Our shop is rich in all kinds of divine ability. We have at least 90% of the divine ability from the myriad of Law of Death." The young lady smiled. 90%. Lu Ming was shocked. This shop was definitely not simple. There were thousands of Law of Death in the world, and it was hard to count them. However, this shop actually said that it had 90% of the divine ability from the myriad of Law of Death. "I want a divine ability from the Law of Death," Lu Ming said directly. The young lady's eyes lit up and looked at Lu Ming curiously. Could Lu Ming be a death child? Apart from the death child who controlled the Law of Death, it was useless for others to buy a divine ability from him. "Young master, please follow me." The young lady's smile widened and brought Lu Ming to a room. "Young master, please take a seat." In the room, there was an old man, who was the manager of this place. He looked at Lu Ming with a smile. "Young master needs a divine ability from the Law of Death?" the old man asked. "That's right." Lu Ming nodded. "So, young master is a death child?" the old man asked again. Lu Ming nodded. The old man smiled and said, "Our shop happens to have a divine ability from the Law of Death called the Death Eye. However, the price is not cheap. I'll buy it." Lu Ming was overjoyed. He didn't expect that there would be a divine ability from the Law of Death here. It was indeed worthy of being called Destiny City. However, the price of a divine ability was too high. In the end, Lu Ming spent 80% of his wealth to buy the Death Eye. His heart was bleeding from the pain. One had to know that Lu Ming had killed many experts during this period, including the Blue Demon King of the ancient Devil Kingdom. That was a peak true Emperor expert. Lu Ming could be said to be rich. However, it was almost emptied out in an instant. A divine ability from one of the 10 strongest laws was too expensive. However, it was all worth it. The Death Eye could erupt with the power of the Law of Death through the eyes, instantly plunging the enemy into death and robbing them of their vitality. It was extremely domineering. As long as he succeeded in cultivating it, Lu Ming would have another powerful technique. Moreover, it would also be able to promote the cultivation of the Law of Death. After returning to the inn, Lu Ming immediately started comprehending the Death Eye. Sure enough, with the help of the divine ability, Lu Ming's comprehension of the law of death became faster and easier. Chapter 2093. Aeon City, the Mu clan, in a large hall. Mu Yang sat in the main seat with a gloomy expression. After half a month, his injuries had fully recovered, but his anger and murderous intent hadn't subsided in the slightest. Over the past half a month, the news of Mu Yang being brutally abused by Lu Ming had already spread throughout Aeon City and the entire Divine Fate land at the speed of a hurricane. Mu Yang was known as a seed expert, but he was beaten so miserably by a son of primal chaos who was only at the peak of the absolute saint realm. It was hard for him not to be noticed. Now, countless people were secretly discussing how Lu Ming had trampled on Mu Yang's face in public and even used him as a hostage. He had become a laughingstock. Damn it, damn it. Mu Yang's face was twisted with murderous intent. Have you found out where that bastard is? Mu Yang coldly asked the person who had come to report to him. Young noble, we've found out. Lu Ming's group has already entered Destiny City. A burly man reported. Humph, want to hide in Destiny City? Don't even think about it. Kill. Send people into Destiny City and kill that bastard. Mu Yang roared. Young noble, this isn't appropriate. A white-haired old man spoke. He was a powerful true emperor from the Mu clan. Why is it inappropriate? Mu Yang coldly asked. Right now, several powerful forces in Destiny City have given the order that no one is allowed to fight in Destiny City. Otherwise, we'll be making an enemy out of them. If we send people to fight in Destiny City, I'm afraid we'll offend them. The old man said. Although the Mu clan was a powerful overlord in Aeon City, there was still a gap between them and the other forces in Destiny City. The Mu clan didn't dare to offend the overlords of Destiny City either. Mu Yang's expression darkened. After a while, he coldly said, we don't have to do it ourselves. Go find the people from the Nation of Death. Those lunatics will do anything as long as they're paid. Everyone's expression changed as a trace of fear flashed through their eyes. It was as if they were very afraid of the Nation of Death. The kingdom of the God of Death in the Divine Fate land was indeed terrifying. That was because this was a terrifying assassin organization. There were all kinds of terrifying assassins. As long as you paid, you could kill any expert. Moreover, the Death God Nation loved to hunt down geniuses and experts. Their most glorious battle record was when they killed a great emperor, shocking the entire Divine Fate land. Some people even suspected that this Death God Nation was created by a foreign race. There were also powerful forces that wanted to eliminate this assassin organization, but this organization was too mysterious. No one knew where their headquarters were. At most, they could only eliminate some of their branches. They would always be able to rise from the ashes. Now, Mu Yang wanted to ask the assassins of the Nation of Death to kill Lu Ming. Others might not dare to make a move in Destiny City, but the Nation of Death did. Lu Ming, if you offend me, only death awaits you. Mu Yang said coldly. Lu Ming had been in Destiny City for a month. Cultivating like this is still too slow. On this day, Lu Ming ended his cultivation and sighed. Now, his law of primal chaos had reached a bottleneck. It was only a step away from perfection, and it seemed like it could be crossed at any time. However, this any time could be a few months, or it could be a year or two. It was hard to say. Some people were stuck for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Therefore, Lu Ming's main focus was now on the law of death and the law of devour. Following the improvement of these two laws, his battle prowess would also become stronger and stronger. However, even with the Azura's Eye, the improvement of the law of death was still too slow. Lu Ming wasn't satisfied. I heard that there's an ancient battlefield in Destiny City that contains powerful death chi and evil chi. Many people who cultivate evil chi will cultivate there. It's the most suitable place for the law of death to cultivate. Lu Ming pondered. He planned to go to that ancient battlefield to cultivate. There were still about 2 months before the Battle of the 10 Earths. Everyone was thinking of ways to improve their cultivation. Because it was said that there would be great opportunities in the Battle of the 10 Earths. Only the strong could obtain them. Although Lu Ming was very strong now, there was always someone stronger. Who knew what other terrifying geniuses there were? Now, was there anyone who had broken through to the Martial Emperor realm? If there were powerful geniuses who had already entered the Martial Emperor realm, their strength would definitely be terrifying. Lu Ming felt a sense of urgency. He wanted to improve his strength as soon as possible. He said goodbye to Qiu Yu, Long Chen, and Huang Li, then left the inn and went to the ancient battlefield. The ancient battlefield was in the northern region of Destiny City. It was a battlefield left behind from ancient times. It was deathly silent and filled with death chi and evil chi. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning, but it still took him half a day to reach the ancient battlefield. This was a boundless great mountain, deathly still. As far as the eye could see, it was completely barren, without a single living creature. Lu Ming stepped in. The death chi is indeed dense. As soon as he entered the mountain, Lu Ming felt that the death chi here was very dense. It was very suitable for cultivating the law of death. Moreover, the deeper he went, the denser the death chi was. Lu Ming did not stop and went deeper. He also found other people in this battlefield. They were all people who cultivated evil cultivation methods or evil laws. Lu Ming went deeper and finally came to a short peak. He then sat down cross-legged and quietly comprehended the law of death. As expected, the speed of comprehending the law of death here was several times faster than outside. Every day, Lu Ming had great gains. 3 days later, Lu Ming's law of death reached about 88%. What Lu Ming did not know was that there was a group of people on a towering mountain outside the ancient battlefield. This group of people were all shrouded in black robes and their faces could not be seen clearly. That kid is cultivating in that ancient battlefield. One of them reported to a person wearing a death god mask. Good, I heard that the kid is the son of chaos. If we kill him this time, it will definitely shake the divine fate land. He. The expert wearing the death god mask sneered and then ordered, wait a moment. Quickly kill that kid and leave this place. If we wait too long, I'm afraid that the experts of those forces will come here. Yes. Some of the black-robed people bowed and accepted the order. Go, I will stand guard here. If the people of those forces come, I will inform you to evacuate immediately. The person wearing the death god mask said. Then, the black-robed people flashed and left one after another. Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly felt his hair stand on end. A great fear was approaching. Not good. Chapter 2094. The moment Lu Ming's body shot out, a terrifying sword light slashed down from the sky towards the place where Lu Ming had been sitting, leaving a deep sword mark on the ground. The short mountain was also split in half. Martial Emperor. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. The person who had attacked was definitely a Martial Emperor. However, he should only be a 1-star Martial Emperor. Swoosh. Swoosh. At this moment, 2 sword lights flashed above and below Lu Ming. 2 sword lights, one above and one below, shot towards Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Boom. Lu Ming's sacred force circulated crazily as he quickly retreated, avoiding the 2 sword lights. Martial Emperors, both of them are Martial Emperors. A few people appeared behind him, all of them were Martial Emperors. Your reaction is quite fast. A cold voice rang out. A few black-robed men appeared in the sky and surrounded Lu Ming. "Who are you people?" Lu Ming asked coldly. "If the Grim Reaper wants you to die today, he won't let you live until tomorrow." One of the black-robed men said coldly. "It's the Grim Reaper Nation. Run." There were also people cultivating in the area. When they heard those words, they were so frightened that they screamed and ran for their lives. Grim Reaper Nation. Lu Ming frowned. He had just arrived at the Divine Fate Land and had never heard of it. "Don't talk nonsense, let's end this quickly," one of the black-robed men said coldly. Swoosh. The black-robed men moved at an astonishing speed. A few beams of sword gleams charged toward Lu Ming at a terrifying speed. "You are the ones who will die." Lu Ming no longer hid his strength. He unleashed his full strength and charged towards one of the black-robed men. Boom! He threw out a palm. His palm was gray and it was like an ancient divine mountain pressing down. It directly shattered the sword light of the black-robed man. The terrifying palm force bombarded the black-robed man's body, directly tearing him apart. A one-star martial emperor had been killed by Lu Ming in seconds. The other black-robed men were extremely shocked at this scene. "No, his battle prowess doesn't match the information we received," a black-robed man roared. According to the information they received, Lu Ming's battle prowess was only slightly stronger than Mu Yang's. As a son of the void, Mu Yang had already begun to create a world. His battle prowess was sufficient to contend against a one-star martial emperor, and he could even suppress a one-star martial emperor. Although he was slightly stronger than Mu Yang, his battle prowess should not be much stronger. It was absolutely impossible for him to kill a one-star martial emperor in one move. "Attack, attack together!" one of the gang members roared. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, figures flickered in the sky. There were a total of 7 or 8 figures. In addition to the previous few, there were more than a dozen of them. Terrifying auras filled the air. They were all martial emperors and above. No matter how strong he is, he must die today. Kill! A black-robed man roared and slammed his palm down. A pitch-black palm print blasted towards Lu Ming. Its power was extremely terrifying. 3-star martial emperor. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. A 3-star martial emperor was simply too strong. Lu Ming did not dare to receive the attack head-on. Instead, he directly charged out. "You want to leave? Get back!" A black-robed man appeared in front. He held a pitch-black saber and slashed out. A vast saber light slashed at Lu Ming. This was also a 3-star martial emperor. At such a close distance, dodging was already impossible. Xiao Chun could only receive the attack head-on. Lu Ming circulated his full power, and 4 laws erupted at the same time. Boom! Lu Ming blasted his palm on the saber gleam, emitting an earth-shattering boom. Lu Ming's body shook violently, and he was sent flying. The terrifying power caused Lu Ming to vomit a mouthful of blood. A 3-star martial emperor was too strong. Lu Ming was still not a match for him. Whoosh! Whoosh! After Lu Ming was sent flying, the other black-robed men charged at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and death chi burst out of his eyes. One of the black-robed men was startled and the death chi enveloped him. Bang! Lu Ming rushed over and sent the person flying. In the process of retreating, the person's body cracked and broke into pieces. Lu Ming went all out. A 1-star foe emperor found it hard to block a single move from Lu Ming. The Death Law and the Primal Chaos Law. Heavens! How is this possible? 2 supreme laws. A monster. A demonic genius. Kill him. We must kill him. Lu Ming erupted with his full power. With two supreme laws circulating at the same time, he could not hide them and would reveal them. When those black-robed men saw that Lu Ming actually grasped two supreme laws, they were incomparably shocked. Some of them even roared in shock. A person, furthermore, one below martial emperor, actually grasped two supreme laws. This was simply unheard of and inconceivable. Kill. Lu Ming attacked continuously, targeting a one-star martial emperor. He threw a palm strike, and that person exploded in the air. Boom! The other black-robed men also attacked together. There were a total of 2 3-star martial emperors, 4 2-star martial emperors, and 3 1-star martial emperors. Only 9 people remained. When 9 people attacked together, their combat prowess was too horrifying. Lu Ming's acupoints lit up. Several tens of holy armaments and a few imperial armaments hovered around him, forming the first line of defense. At the same time, the light of laws covered his body. 4 kinds of laws circulated throughout his body, forming the second line of defense. Whoosh! Lu Ming changed directions and charged into the depths of the ancient battlefield. Lu Ming did his best to avoid the attacks of the 2 3-star martial emperors. As for the other martial emperors, he could not avoid that many and could only take them head-on. Boom! Boom! Instantly, at least 5 attacks struck Lu Ming. 3 2-star martial emperors and 2 1-star martial emperors. The battle weapons hovering around Lu Ming exploded like fireworks. Absolute holy armaments could not block the attacks of martial emperors. In the end, only a few imperial armaments remained intact. Pooh! Lu Ming coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Although the attacks were blocked by the battle weapons, there were still powerful attacks that landed on his body. However, taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Ming arrived in front of a 1-star martial emperor. This 1-star martial emperor turned pale with fright. He wanted to flee but was killed in the air by Lu Ming's palm strike. Following that, Lu Ming jabbed out with his finger. A huge primal chaos tribulation finger formed and shot toward a 2-star martial emperor. This finger contained 4 kinds of laws. Its might was astonishingly strong. That 2-star martial emperor blocked with all his strength. However, he was still sent flying and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The others were shocked and attacked even more frantically. A terrifying palm imprint and a saber light shot toward Lu Ming. The 2 3-star martial emperors attacked again. Lu Ming did his best to dodge. However, in the end, he did not manage to dodge completely. He was struck by that palm imprint. The terrifying power nearly caused Lu Ming's body to crack. Lu Ming felt intense pain all over his body. He felt like his bones were about to break. He coughed up blood non-stop. However, he borrowed the power of that palm imprint to instantly arrive in front of that injured 2-star martial emperor. Chapter 2095. Boom! Lu Ming's palm trembled as he sent out several palm strikes. The terrifying palm energy directly tore apart his opponent's defense. With a miserable shriek, this 2-star martial emperor was torn apart by Lu Ming, dying miserably on the spot. The others sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Ming's battle prowess was too terrifying, far surpassing the information they received. He could even kill a 2-star martial emperor. This was truly frightening. Kill. We must kill such a person even more. The Death God Nation's assassins revealed frenzied expressions. Now, they no longer cared about how many origin stones Mu Yang gave them. They wanted to kill Lu Ming even more. The remaining assassins attacked with all their might, surrounding and attacking Lu Ming. Lu Ming roared as he circulated his death laws with all his might. The surrounding death chi continuously gathered, strengthening Lu Ming's offense and defense. In this ancient battlefield, the death laws could bring out their greatest might, far surpassing the usual. Hence, Lu Ming's battle prowess was stronger in this ancient battlefield than in other places. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming charged around, fighting the Death God Nation's experts. The ones that posed the greatest threat to him were the two 3-star martial emperors. Although Lu Ming was strong now, able to kill 2-star martial emperors, he was still no match for 3-star martial emperors. After 10 odd moves, Lu Ming successfully killed another 1-star martial emperor. However, he was also struck by a 3-star martial emperor and 2 2-star illusionary emperors. Several horrifying wounds appeared on Lu Ming's body. Blood flowed out, and many of his bones were even broken. Fortunately, the death chi here was too dense, greatly increasing Lu Ming's defense. In the end, he managed to survive. Kill! Lu Ming went berserk. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body was bathed in blood. He looked like a demonic god. Bang! Lu Ming sent a 2-star illusionary emperor flying, causing him to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming took the opportunity to charge out of the encirclement and into the depths of the ancient battlefield. The death chi in the depths of the ancient battlefield was even denser, which was more advantageous for him. Send out the news. Get my lord to personally take action. A 3-star martial emperor roared as he chased Lu Ming relentlessly. This time, their losses were too heavy. Previously, they had thought that Lu Ming's combat power was only slightly stronger than an ordinary 1-star empty emperor and not even stronger than a 2-star empty emperor. However, they had sent out 4 2-star empty emperors and 2 3-star empty emperors. It could be said that they were foolproof. However, Lu Ming's battle prowess was much stronger than he had imagined. Lu Ming had killed 4 or 5 people consecutively, but they had yet to kill Lu Ming. If this continued, Lu Ming might really be able to escape if he fled into the depths of the ancient battlefield. This was something they could not tolerate. Very few people that the Death God Kingdom wanted to kill were able to escape. As for the remaining people, they pursued Lu Ming with all their might. One of them had already spread the news. Bang! Lu Ming, who was running at top speed, was hit by a palm energy. This was the palm energy of a 3-star illusionary emperor, which was exceptionally powerful. Lu Ming was sent flying, his body in intense pain. However, Lu Ming's eyes were resolute as he moved forward at top speed. From the other party's roar just now, it was obvious that there were even stronger people nearby. Lu Ming could only escape into the depths of the ancient battlefield to have a chance to survive. Who wants to kill me? Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He did not know the people from the Death God Kingdom at all. Moreover, from the way these people attacked, it was obvious that they were assassins. Who was it that hired assassins to kill him? Mu Yang. Lu Ming thought of Mu Yang. It was most likely Mu Yang. Mu Yang, I will definitely kill you. Lu Ming's heart was filled with killing intent as he ran forward with all his might. During this process, Lu Ming's body squirmed and his injuries were rapidly recovering. Now, his spirit body was too strong and his vitality was incomparably vigorous. Although he was severely injured, his recovery speed was also very shocking. The remaining assassins continued to chase and attack Lu Ming with all kinds of attacks. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, but occasionally, he would be hit by all kinds of attacks. Luckily, the death chi here was getting denser and denser. To Lu Ming, there were many benefits. His entire body was filled with death chi, forming an armor that covered his entire body. He controlled the death laws, the death chi was beneficial to him, but to others, it was like a poison. When ordinary people faced the death chi would constantly corrode them. Chi, the remaining assassins had to use a portion of their strength to resist the invasion of the death chi. If you want to kill me, I will make you pay a price. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes were flickering with a crazed look. His body that was running suddenly stopped, then with extreme speed, he pounced towards the back. Those assassins thought that Lu Ming was running for his life. Who would have thought that Lu Ming would suddenly turn around and attack? For a moment, they were stunned. Although it was only for a moment, but to experts like them, a moment was enough to determine life and death. Bam! Lu Ming struck out with his palm, killing the last one-star empty emperor. Then, his body moved and attacked another two-star empty emperor. At this moment, the two-star empty emperor finally reacted. He activated the power of the realm and slashed out a terrifying sword light. Boom! Lu Ming struck out with his palm and directly dispersed the sword light. The terrifying palm force hit the two-star empty emperor's body. The man screamed as his chest was penetrated, a big hole appeared and he was forced to retreat. How could Lu Ming let him escape? His body moved and he chased after him. You are courting death. Kill! The other assassins roared and attacked Lu Ming. Block! Lu Ming roared and controlled the remaining emperor weapons to block behind him. At the same time, endless death chi gathered and formed a thick wall of death behind Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored the attacks behind him and attacked the two-star empty emperor with all his might. Bam! Bam! The two-star empty emperor was already severely injured. Although he tried his best to block, he still could not block it. After a few moves, Lu Ming's palm struck his head. His head exploded like a watermelon and his body and soul were destroyed. The other assassins' attacks fell behind Lu Ming. A few emperor weapons vibrated and almost exploded. Cracks appeared on them and the thick wall of death was also destroyed. All kinds of attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body flew out like a cannonball and crashed into a mountain. However, in the next moment, the mountain rumbled and Lu Ming rushed out from the mountain and continued to rush into the depths of the ancient battlefield. Lu Ming coughed out blood. Fortunately, the emperor weapons and the wall of death had blocked most of the power. Otherwise, he would be in danger after being hit by so many attacks. Even so, he was still severely injured. Damn it! The remaining assassins were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. Lu Ming had killed another two of them. The loss was too great. They had suffered a great loss in this deal. However, as long as they could kill Lu Ming, it was worth it. They chased after Lu Ming and did not let him go. Suddenly, a terrifying sword light burst out from the sky and slashed towards Lu Ming. It was extremely terrifying, as if it was going to split the heavens and earth. It's coming. Chapter 2096. That sword light made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. That was definitely a terrifying expert, definitely not an ordinary empty emperor. Peak empty emperor. Swoosh. Lu Ming displayed his extreme speed, his body constantly changing, like a bolt of lightning, extremely fast, trying his best to avoid the sword light. In the end, the sword light slashed down, and Lu Ming dodged it. However, there were still aftershocks that swept Lu Ming. Lu Ming groaned, and his body flew far away. In the air, Lu Ming coughed up blood. When he was about to land, Lu Ming struck out a palm, and a palm force bombarded the ground. Lu Ming borrowed the force, and his body drifted forward faster. A peak void emperor was invincible. He was too powerful. He could kill Lu Ming in one move. Lu Ming could only escape, but it was a terrible crisis. Now, no one could help him, and he could only rely on himself. In the sky, a black-robed man wearing a death mask appeared, and his body was filled with incomparable cold-killing intent. If one could see through the mask, they would definitely see that this person's face was cold and gloomy. He glanced around and saw the remaining assassins, and his eyes were about to spit fire. He had sent so many experts, all of whom were in the martial emperor realm, to assassinate a junior, who was still in the saint realm, but they could not kill him, and so many of his own people had died. If this spread out, it would be a great blow to the reputation of the Death Nation. Therefore, Lu Ming must die. Swoosh! He slashed with his sword again, and a ray of sword gleam charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, but this time was even worse. The sword edge brushed past him, and his body was almost split in half. There was a 1-meter-long sword wound on his body, and it was so deep that his bones could be seen, and even his internal organs could be seen wriggling. However, Lu Ming did not stop, and he continued to rush forward. In front, there was a large pit, and it was covered with bones. It's here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Kill. High up in the air, the expert wearing the death god mask saw that his 2 moves had failed to kill Lu Ming, and his killing intent became even colder. Endless sword light bloomed in his hand, and hundreds of sword lights appeared in the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hundreds of sword lights, densely packed from all directions, pierced towards Lu Ming. Hundreds of sword lights had completely sealed off Lu Ming's escape route. This was a sure kill move, executed by a peak illusionary emperor. Lu Ming had nowhere to run. In an instant, hundreds of sword lights all struck Lu Ming, drowning him. There was a violent rumble, bones flew everywhere, dust flew, and Lu Ming let out an unwilling roar. After that, there was no more movement. When the dust settled, there was nothing left. With a flash, a few black-robed figures flew over and landed on the ground. Above them, the expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask also descended from the air. Is Lu Ming dead? He must be dead. Under Lord's attack, not even his bones are left. The black-robed figures spoke one after another. The expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask scanned the surroundings with his spiritual consciousness, and even penetrated deep into the ground, but he did not find anything unusual. Then, he stretched out his hand, and a storage ring flew out from among the bones and landed in his hand. There were bloodstains on the storage ring. He sensed it and knew that it was Lu Ming's aura. Lu Ming should be dead. His bones have merged with the bones here, leaving only a storage ring. The expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask said. He was very confident that under that move, Lu Ming would have died without a doubt. In that instant, Lu Ming could not have escaped. There was only one explanation: Lu Ming was dead, and not even his bones were left. The storage ring was the best explanation. This kid is really a freak. He's too terrifying. He can control 2 supreme laws. Fortunately, Lord came. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if the kid escaped. The other black-robed figures flattered. He is indeed a freak. All right, let's hurry and leave. The news will spread soon. I'm afraid the experts of Destiny City will be here soon. Also, in 2 days, spread the news that the Son of Chaos was killed by us. It will definitely shock the world. The masked expert said coldly. Then, his figure flashed and the figures of the assassins disappeared. 10 miles away, in a hidden mountain valley, Lu Ming coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood, his face pale. Naturally, he was not dead. This time, it's all thanks to Xiaoqing's scapegoat puppet. Lu Ming sighed. Just now, when he was about to be drowned by the sword light, he decisively used the scapegoat puppet that Xian Yanqing had given him. The scapegoat puppet was incomparably mysterious. In an instant, his body was moved 10 miles away, and the enemy's attack was all absorbed by the puppet. Therefore, Lu Ming was not dead. The one who died was the scapegoat puppet. The scapegoat puppet had died for him once. At the critical moment, Lu Ming had left behind an interspatial ring. Even so, Lu Ming was swept by the aftershocks, and several more sword wounds appeared on his body. Waves of destructive power constantly drilled into the depths of his body. These people think I'm dead. It's not good for me to show myself now. I'll change my identity and heal here. I'll appear again when the Battle of 10 Earths begins. Lu Ming thought to himself. If he showed himself now, who knew if the enemy would send another assassination attempt? He didn't have a scapegoat puppet now. Lu Ming used the divine breath art to conceal his aura, then headed deeper into the ancient battlefield. He found a hidden place and entered the mountain river diagram to heal his injuries. His injuries were very serious. There were streaks of destructive sword light in his body that wanted to destroy his body. If he wanted to heal his injuries, he first had to dispel the sword light. Lu Ming controlled the 4 laws and began to dispel the sword light. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. Lu Ming finally dispelled the sword light. As soon as the sword light was dispelled, Lu Ming's body began to rapidly recover. His bones and muscles were regenerating and healing rapidly. At this moment, a piece of news spread that shook the entire Divine Fate land. Lu Ming, the son of Primal Chaos who came from Primal Mountain, had been killed by the Nation of Death in Destiny City. When this news came out, the world was in an uproar. Countless people were shocked. Lu Ming had displayed terrifying talent and battle strength as soon as he came to the Divine Fate land. With his cultivation at the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint Realm, he had defeated several sons of Primal Chaos consecutively. Even Mu Yang, who was known as a seed expert, was defeated by Lu Ming and trampled under Lu Ming's feet. Originally, countless people thought highly of Lu Ming. They thought that Lu Ming would be a peak expert in the Battle of 10 Earths, a seed expert. Countless people looked forward to the battle between Lu Ming and the son of Primal Chaos, Yuan Xian. But now, Lu Ming had been killed by the Nation of Death. This was because the news was released by the Nation of Death. The Nation of Death was very arrogant. They claimed to the outside world that so what if he was a peerless genius? So what if he hid in Destiny City? If the Nation of Death wanted to kill someone, it was useless no matter where he hid. Chapter 2097. The overlords of Destiny City had previously announced to the public that killing was prohibited in the city for the safety of the geniuses. But now, the Nation of Death had assassinated the Son of Chaos in Destiny City. This was a slap in the face to the overlords of Destiny City. The world was in an uproar. A powerful Son of Chaos had actually been assassinated by the Nation of Death in Destiny City. This was a major event that shocked countless people. Many people even suspected that this was true. But later on, someone stood out and said that it was true because they were at the ancient battlefield and saw with their own eyes that the Nation of Death had sent out a large number of experts to assassinate the Son of Chaos, Lu Ming. When the news was confirmed, many people found it difficult to calm down, especially some powerful geniuses. The Nation of Death was too terrifying. Since they could assassinate the Son of Chaos, they could also assassinate them. Many geniuses' activities became low-key. The overlords of Destiny City were furious and sent out a large number of experts to encircle and annihilate the Nation of Death. Unfortunately, they only managed to destroy a few insignificant branches and couldn't find the headquarters. The Nation of Death's people jumped out and clamored again. It didn't matter where the Nation of Death wanted to kill someone, their words were extremely arrogant. Left with no choice, the overlords of Destiny City could only strengthen the city's defenses. There were powerful existences guarding every corner of the city. The moment something went wrong, they would send out experts to prevent another assassination attempt from happening. But this matter had a huge impact and affected the hearts of countless people. In the Inn of Destiny City, Autumn Moon, Long Chen, and Huang Li were in disbelief when they heard the news. Impossible, the young master won't die. Autumn Moon's face was pale as tears welled up in her eyes. Don't worry, Lu Ming definitely won't die. Long Chen and Huang Li spoke one after another. They clenched their fists tightly and emitted cold killing intent. In another ancient city to the south of Celestial City, Huangling, Luotiani, and a few others were traveling. When they heard the news, their faces were also pale. No, no one can kill him. Several people whispered. Translator, Atlas Studios editor, Atlas Studios. The moment Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Mo Li stepped into the Divine Fate Land, they were shocked by the news. My master won't die. Both of them found it hard to believe that Lu Ming would be killed. In their eyes, Lu Ming was irreplaceable. One day, he would be invincible. On a mountain peak, Death Blade stood against the wind, his aura wild. Lu Ming, you can't die yet. I still have to defeat you and replace you as the Gold Inheritor. A deep voice came from the Death Blade's mouth. Within an elegant courtyard in Destiny City, Xinghe stood tall with his hands behind his back. After a few years, the Eternal Star River had become even more terrifying. Its aura was unfathomable. Lu Ming, I wanted to kill you with my own hands. What a pity. Xinghe smiled faintly. On Yuan Mountain, the Han clan, He clan, Daluo Heaven sect, Ancient Moon Holy Land, Golden Crow clan, Wan clan, and other forces were overjoyed when they heard the news. Lu Ming's death was great news for them, especially for the Ancient Moon Holy Land, Wan clan, Golden Crow clan, and other forces. This was because in the Celestial Emperor City, Lu Ming had used the Celestial Emperor's body to kill a few experts. He had even beaten the great emperor of the He family until he fled. This made some forces in the Ancient Moon Holy Land who had a grudge against Lu Ming turn cold. They had been on tenterhooks, afraid that Lu Ming would use the Celestial Emperor's body to kill their sects and annihilate them. Now that Lu Ming was killed, they heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they guessed that Lu Ming's Heavenly Emperor's body was severely restricted. Otherwise, how could he be assassinated by the Death God Nation? If he could control the Heavenly Emperor's body, the people from the Death God Nation would only be courting death. Ha ha ha, boy, you dare to go against me. Only death awaits you. In Aeon City, Mu clan, Mu Yang laughed heartily. His only regret was that he did not kill Lu Ming with his own hands. The Divine Fate Land was in an uproar. Lu Ming had been in the depths of the ancient battlefield. After a few days, Lu Ming's injuries had healed. However, he did not go out and continued to cultivate in the ancient battlefield. He speculated that the assassins from the Death God Nation were probably hired by Mu Yang. As long as Mu Yang knew that he was dead, Mu Yang would not make any moves. Only then would Long Chen, Qiu Yu, and the others be safe. The depths of the ancient battlefield were very beneficial for cultivating the law of death. In the following days, Lu Ming focused on cultivating in seclusion to comprehend the law of death. Every day, there would be great gains. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. Lu Ming had made great progress in the law of death. His law of death had already reached 95% and was on par with the law of devour. Now, Lu Ming's 4 types of law fused together and erupted. The power was even more shocking. Lu Ming's strength had increased again. At this time, Lu Ming walked out of the ancient battlefield. Because the time for the Battle of 10 Earths had arrived. Lu Ming disguised himself as a dark-skinned youth. Walking on the streets, no one could recognize him. Lu Ming inquired about the news of the Battle of 10 Earths. As there were too many people participating in the Battle of 10 Earths, the Battle of 10 Earths had to be screened. Countless geniuses from all over the Yuan continent had come. The number was shocking. If they were to compete one by one, it would be unrealistic and too slow. Therefore, the Battle of 10 Earths was divided into 4 battle zones. East, South, West, and North, the 4 battle zones. Everyone could choose any battle zone to register. Then, they would be screened before they could participate in the final battle. The time would begin tomorrow. Lu Ming found a place to stay. A day passed in the blink of an eye. On the second day, Lu Ming headed towards the southern battle zone. It was an extremely spacious place, but when Lu Ming arrived, he found that the empty space was almost filled with people. Of course, many people were over the age limit and were here to watch the fun. There were naturally not that many young geniuses. In the center of the empty space, there was a huge platform. At this moment, there were a few figures floating above the platform, emitting shocking auras. Great Emperor. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He discovered that one of the people's aura was extremely deep and terrifying. Lu Ming had come into contact with great emperors more than once. Naturally, he could easily determine that this person was a great emperor. The 4 battle zones were controlled by the 4 overlord forces of Destiny City. This should be an expert from one of the overlord forces. The screening is divided into several rounds. The first round is very simple. You can register first and then step onto this platform. We will test you together. The Emperor Realm expert spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it rang in everyone's ears. Below the platform, there were a few registration places. Some youths went forward one after another and began to register. After registering, they stepped onto the platform. Chapter 2098. Alright, let's begin the test for this batch. The Great Emperor ordered. This Great Emperor looked to be in his 50s and had a majestic aura. Immediately, an old man stepped forward. In a moment, I'll unleash my pressure on you. Resist it with all your might. As long as you can withstand it for 30 breaths, those who can't withstand it will be eliminated. The old man said. Many people's hearts moved. This method was simple. A group of people would gather together and use their auras to suppress those who could withstand it. This way, the efficiency would be high. Those who weren't strong could be eliminated quickly. Begin. As the old man's voice sounded, a terrifying aura erupted from his body and enveloped the entire platform. True Emperor. Lu Ming could tell that this elder was a true emperor-level expert. As soon as the old man's aura was released, some people's expressions changed. Their bodies trembled, and then they coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and knelt on the ground. Senior, please have mercy. I can't withstand it anymore. The youth roared, feeling as if his body was about to be crushed into meat paste. Get down. The old man said indifferently as he controlled his aura. The pressure on the youth instantly lightened, and he hurriedly rushed down the platform, gasping for breath. A mere bright saint dares to go up on the platform? He's overestimating himself. This is the Battle of 10 Earths, not some small place. A bright saint dares to go up? What a joke. Many people shook their heads and laughed. The Battle of 10 Earths gathered the strongest prodigies in the 10 Earths. A mere bright saint was not enough. The youth's face flushed red. In fact, there were many people like that young man. Plop. Plop. On the platform, many youths knelt down and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. These youths' cultivation was around the bright saint realm. The Battle of 10 Earths was really affecting. It was the first time in history, and countless people paid attention to it. Many youths wanted to perform on such a stage, hoping to be noticed. Therefore, many of those who didn't have high cultivation wanted to participate. Many people coughed out blood and rushed down the platform, eliminated. As time passed, the old man's aura became stronger and stronger. Later on, even the great saints couldn't withstand it and were eliminated. In the end, only about 100 people out of the 1,000 managed to resist for 30 breaths of time. Of course, everyone's condition was different. Some people were trembling all over, cold sweat flowing down their backs, and they were gasping for breath. It was obvious that they had exhausted all their strength. Some people, on the other hand, were calm and collected. Their expressions were normal and relaxed. The names of those who had advanced to the next round were kept, and they could enter the next round. You've all seen it for yourself. If you're not strong enough, then don't sign up. You'll only embarrass yourself and get injured. The middle-aged great emperor said. Many youths had ugly expressions on their faces. In the end, they sighed helplessly. They originally wanted to show off, but in reality, they didn't even have the qualifications to participate. They didn't even have the qualifications to serve as a foil. The Battle of the 10 Lands was the stage for true geniuses. As long as one could get a spot in the 10 Lands battle, it would be a huge honor. However, most people could only watch. Following that, more and more people came forward to register. When there were about 1,000 people, the old man once again unleashed his aura and pressured the young man on the platform. This time, the situation was much better. Out of the 1,000 participants, about 500 of them made it to the next round. Because those who didn't have enough cultivation knew that they wouldn't be able to pass and would only get injured if they went up, they didn't sign up. Then, the selection continued. Xiang Xiang, Amoli, Autumn Moon, Huang Ling, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw Xiang Xiang, Autumn Moon, and the others in the crowd. They were all here, and they were all in the southern war zone. With their cultivation bases, they naturally passed the selection easily. I'll go up too. Lu Ming smiled and began to sign up. He wasn't in a hurry to meet Xiang Xiang and the others. What's your name? On the registration platform, someone looked at Lu Ming. Tianyun. Lu Ming said. Leave your aura. The other party said. Lu Ming nodded and left a wisp of aura. This was to identify his identity. Then, Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. I have hair, I'm heartless. Lu Ming had just stepped onto the platform when he heard a Buddhist chant behind him. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched. Lu Ming was too familiar with this voice. Although he hadn't heard it for more than 10 years, he definitely wouldn't forget it. Lu Ming turned around and saw a slightly plump young monk stepping onto the platform. Heartless monk. Lu Ming was a little dazed. He didn't expect to meet Heartless monk here. Back then, when he was in the Divine Wilderness continent, Heartless and Moonless left before him and came to Yuan continent. It had been more than 10 years since they last met. Heartless monk was still the same as more than 10 years ago. He hadn't changed at all. When he walked up and saw Lu Ming looking at him, he couldn't help but chant a Buddhist chant. I have hair. Benefactor, you're looking at me with such affection. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to me? Unfortunately, you're a man. If you were a beautiful woman, would consider it. Heartless monk said with a smile. Go to hell. Lu Ming curled his lips. This guy hadn't changed at all. Benefactor, why do I feel like we've met before? It's a familiar feeling. Oh no, oh no. Why would I have such feelings for a man? Heartless monk started to stare at Lu Ming. Then, his face turned bitter and he sighed. Get lost. Lu Ming scolded. At the same time, he was shocked. This unreliable monk's spiritual sense was really sharp. He had used his divine breath technique but Heartless monk still felt it. Amitba. Then, another chant was heard and a few young monks stepped onto the platform. Moonless, dustless. Lu Ming recognized a few of them. Moonless Bodhisattva was also a familiar face in the Divine Wilderness continent. The other one was Dustless of Boundless Temple. He controlled the law of karma and was one of the Elysian children. Soon, there were about 1,000 people on the platform. The true Emperor Realm Old Man started to release his aura. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on everyone. However, this pressure was nothing to Lu Ming. He didn't feel anything. Lu Ming saw that Heartless, Moonless, and Dustless were the same. Their faces were calm and they didn't react at all. It seems like heartless and moonless strength has increased tremendously after coming to the Yuan continent. Lu Ming thought to himself. To begin with, Lu Ming was unfamiliar with the cultivation of Buddhism. He discovered that he could not see through the cultivation level of the few young monks. It was as if there was a ball of dazzling golden light in their bodies that concealed their cultivation level. 30 breaths passed in the blink of an eye. They had passed the test easily. I have hair. Benefactor, have we met before? It seems like you have fate with Buddhism. Why don't you shave and join the Buddhist sect? Heartless came to Lu Ming and said with a smile. Go to hell. Chapter 2099. Next, the test continued. After a few more tests, no one signed up. In the end, about 3,000 people passed the first round. Come with me for the next round. The middle-aged great emperor said and stepped into the air. Those who passed the first round followed behind him. Those who were watching the show naturally followed as well. The crowd flew across the sky. Soon, the middle-aged martial monarch came to a stop in midair. There was a huge door of light in midair. This is the second round of the selection. Once you enter the door of light, you will enter a tunnel. There are various tests waiting for you in the tunnel. As long as you can pass through the tunnel within 30 minutes, you will pass the test. You may enter together. The middle-aged great emperor said. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, more than 3,000 people flew into the door of light. The door of light was huge. It did not seem crowded at all when more than 3,000 people flew in. The moment the 3,000 people flew into the door of light, they disappeared. Lu Ming felt his body tremble. He had arrived in a tunnel. There was no one else around. He was the only one. He knew that there must be a formation here. Great emperors had powerful means. It was not surprising that they had set up some mysterious formations. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Although the tunnel was a little difficult, it was not a problem for Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not go all out, but he passed through the entire passageway very quickly. Looking at the passageway that appeared in front of him, Lu Ming smiled faintly. About 5 minutes. He only used 5 minutes to pass through the tunnel. The test of this tunnel was very complicated. It not only tested one's combat strength, but also courage, decisiveness, wisdom, willpower, etc. It was very comprehensive. If one was outstanding in all these aspects, their talent would definitely not be bad. However, Lu Ming had experienced many similar trials and tribulations along the way. To him, these trials were not difficult at all. Lu Ming stepped out of the tunnel. As soon as Lu Ming stepped out of the tunnel, he saw many people looking at him. Lu Ming was stunned. He realized that there were many people standing in the air. Most of them were of the older generation. Some of them had terrifying auras. It can't be, there are so many great emperors. Lu Ming was shocked. He discovered that there were no less than 10 old men emitting the aura of great emperors. This made Lu Ming's heart tremble. I have hair. Benefactor, your speed is not fast. Ha ha ha. With a Buddhist chant, an unscrupulous monk appeared. His speed was even faster than Lu Ming's, which surprised Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. Lu Ming glanced around and saw that a few young men had already passed through the passage. It's him. Lu Ming saw a young man with a tall and straight figure. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, exuding a domineering aura. The son of chaos, Yuan Xian. Lu Ming had seen it during the Hunyuan sect assessment, so how could he forget it? Yuan Xian cast a nonchalant glance at Lu Ming before shifting her gaze away. Little fellow, what law are you cultivating? At this time, an old man looked at Lu Ming with sparkling eyes. The law of death. Lu Ming nodded, and the aura of the law of death emanated from his body. You are indeed the son of chaos? Little fellow, are you willing to be my disciple? The old man asked. I feel that we are fated to be his disciple. He should be my disciple. Another old man spoke. These people were all great emperors. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Could it be that these great emperors were waiting here to recruit disciples? Benefactor, these are all great emperors from God's destined land. Their purpose is to find talented young men to accept as disciples and pass on their mantle. Unscrupulous monk transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and understood. In Yuan continent, changing one's master was not a big deal under certain circumstances. For example, some peerless geniuses might have a master with a low cultivation when their cultivation was still weak. However, these geniuses would quickly rise and surpass their masters in a short period of time. For example, Lu Ming's current cultivation was much stronger than Cloud Dragon Valley masters. Therefore, those masters who had started their apprenticeship could no longer help those geniuses. Those geniuses could naturally find other stronger masters. Therefore, these great emperors were waiting here to try their luck. If they met a peerless genius who did not have a strong background and was willing to be their master, they would have profited. Senior, thank you for your kindness. I already have a master and will not be taking you as my disciple for the time being. Lu Ming cupped his fists and expressed his gratitude. What a pity. The few great emperors shook their heads and felt that it was a pity. He was the son of death and could pass through the passage in 5 minutes. It could be said that he was top-notch in all aspects. These great emperors were very tempted. However, it was obvious that only a few of these geniuses would be willing to take a master. Normally, they would have a strong background or an expert. The crowd continued to wait. Later on, a few more people appeared. Lu Ming saw a familiar face, the ancient devil. The land of infinite demons, the genius who cultivated the primordial demon Tao. This person was undoubtedly a terrifying opponent. A few years had passed. He did not know what level his cultivation had reached. Xiang, Moli. At the 8th minute, Lu Ming saw Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli walking out at almost the same time. So young. Many people's eyes moved. As for those old men, their eyes lit up. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli looked too young. Ouyang Moli was slightly older, but he looked to be around 20 years old. As for Lu Xiang, she looked to be less than 20 years old. It was extremely rare to be able to walk out of the passage in 8 minutes at such a young age. Those old men's hearts moved again. These two brats are not bad. Passing through the passage in 8 minutes. Excellent talent. An old man stepped forward and said with a smile. Greetings, senior. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli bowed politely. What law did the two of you comprehend? Another old man stepped forward and asked with a smile. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli did not hide and released their auras. The children of last time, the children of last time. The old men's eyes lit up even more. Little girl, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? Little brat, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? The old men spoke one after another, staring at Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli. Their eyes were burning with passion. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli looked at each other and shook their heads. Senior, I already have a master. I won't acknowledge anyone else as my master. Lu Xiang shook her head and said. You already have a master? Who is your master? What's his cultivation level? I'm a great emperor. An old man was anxious and quickly spoke, revealing his cultivation level. My master's cultivation level is not as high as senior's, but in the future, he will definitely become a top expert. Lu Xiang said with a determined expression. Little girl, how can it be so easy to become a top expert? Don't be fooled. Chapter 2100. However, Lu Xiangxiang continued to shake her head. The old man was getting anxious. Lu Xiangxiang was so young, yet she already had such a high cultivation base. Moreover, she could pass through the passage in 8 minutes. Her talent was definitely very high. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. "Little girl, who is your master? I'll go talk to him," the old man said. "My master, Lu Ming." Lu Xiangxiang's clear voice rang out, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. The son of chaos Yuan Xian's eyes flashed with 2 rays of bright light that resembled sword light. The ancient devil's eyes moved, and a layer of devilish light spread out from his body. Mu Yang's eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he looked at Lu Xiangxiang with hostility. "Lu Ming." Monk Wuliang muttered as if he was reminiscing. He then carefully sized up Xiangxiang. "Lu Ming? Which Lu Ming?" the old man asked again. "The son of chaos Lu Ming of Yuan Mountain." Lu Xiangxiang added. "So it's him, the son of chaos Lu Ming. I didn't expect to have a disciple like you at such a young age." "Like master, like disciple." The old man sighed and continued, "Your master's talent is indeed unparalleled. If he didn't die, it's normal for him to surpass this old man in the future. However, he has already fallen. No, I believe that my master is not dead." Lu Xiangxiang shook her head. Her delicate little face was filled with determination. "Little girl, why don't you reconsider?" The old man was still unwilling. "Many thanks to senior, but this junior will not change my master." Lu Xiangxiang shook her head firmly. "This little girl." Lu Ming smiled. "Little guy, what about you? Do you have a master?" At this time, another old man stared at Ouyang Moli. "Yes, my master is Lu Ming," Ouyang Moli said. The scene suddenly quieted down. Yuan Xian, Mu Yang, and the others' eyes lit up. "What? Lu Ming? It's Lu Ming again. Which Lu Ming?" The Emperor Realm old men were all stunned. "She's my senior sister." Ouyang Moli pointed at Lu Xiangxiang. Everyone at the scene was stunned. He really was Lu Ming's disciple. 3 Elysian children from one sect. This left everyone speechless. How rare were the children of heaven? They were just too rare. Even in this golden age, they were extremely rare. There were only a few of them in one place. It was only because of the Battle of the 10 Lands that the geniuses of the entire Yuan continent gathered that they could occasionally see the Elysian children. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was a son of heaven himself. He took in 2 disciples, and they were also sons of heaven. This kind of situation, probably even heavenly emperor powerhouses would be envious. "My master is definitely not dead," Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli said in unison. "Not dead? What a joke. You're just deceiving yourself." Mu Yang opened his mouth and sneered. "What did you say?" Lu Xiangxiang glared at Mu Yang. "I'm just telling the truth. You're arrogant just because you have a bit of cultivation. You don't even know how you died." Mu Yang sneered. "Humph, if I'm here, who do you think you are? You'll definitely be tortured by my master." Ouyang Moli said coldly. "What did you say? You're courting death." Instantly, Mu Yang was enraged. His face flushed red with anger. He thought that Ouyang Moli was deliberately mocking him. Previously, he was indeed tortured by Lu Ming and trampled on by Lu Ming. He was utterly humiliated. But in fact, Ouyang Moli did not know Mu Yang at all. He did not know that Mu Yang had already been tortured by Lu Ming. Am I right? You were really tortured by my master before? Ouyang Moli saw something and continued to mock him. You're courting death. Mu Yang was furious. His body emitted cold killing intent as he walked towards Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli. What are you doing? Is this the place for the battle? An old man glanced at Mu Yang coldly, causing Mu Yang to shiver. He broke out in cold sweat like a deflated balloon. In the end, the old men sighed. They knew that it was a pity that Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli would not be apprenticed. After that, more and more people passed through the passage. Half an hour later, around 1,000 people passed. Those who did not pass were all eliminated. Out of the 3,000 people, only 1,000 people were left. Alright, there's still the third round of the selection. Follow me. The middle-aged great emperor came and announced the results. The crowd followed him, including the great emperors. The crowd flew towards another mountain peak. The peak of this mountain peak was extremely wide. It looked as if someone had sliced off the peak with a sword, making it look very smooth. In the middle of the mountain peak, there was a huge battle stage. It was emitting purple gold light. That was the power of the array. The middle-aged great emperor landed on the battle stage and said, "This round of selection is the last one. There will only be 80 spots left in this round." 80 spots. The crowd was shocked. Out of 1,000 people, only 80 would be left. The probability of elimination was too high. Furthermore, this was only the selection. The final battle had not yet begun. The 4 battle zones have the same rules. Each battle zone will select 80 people. There will be a total of 320 people who will participate in the real battle. It's a peak battle. However, let me tell you something. After this round of selection, you will be able to obtain an opportunity. A great opportunity. Many of you might be able to use it to reach the martial emperor realm. The middle-aged great emperor announced. What? Many people were shocked. After this round of selection, they would be able to obtain an opportunity that could even allow them to reach the martial emperor realm. One should know that it was extremely difficult to reach the martial emperor realm from the boundary emperor realm. Since ancient times, countless geniuses had been stuck at this step. Some were stuck for a few years. Some were stuck for a few decades. Some were stuck for a few thousand years. Many people could not break through in their lifetime. This was a hurdle, a huge hurdle. Once one reached the martial emperor realm, it meant that one's lifespan was endless. As long as one could survive the heavenly tribulation that occurred once every 300,000 years, one would be able to live forever. The goal of countless people was to reach the martial emperor realm. Now, there was an opportunity that could allow one to break through to the martial emperor realm. Everyone's heart burned with passion. Before the Battle of the 10 Earths, some great emperor had said that this battle would be accompanied by a great opportunity. It seemed that it was true. I must enter the top 80. I must obtain this opportunity. Many people clenched their fists and swore to themselves that they must enter the top 80. Those who had already been eliminated sighed. The eyes of the heavenly children were especially bright. The rules of this round are very simple. Everyone will step onto the battle stage and fight. The 80 people remaining on the battle stage will be the 80 people who will advance. Of course, there is a condition. You can team up, but the number of people can't exceed 3. More than 3 people will be considered breaking the rules. Chapter 2101. Many people's hearts trembled. This rule could be said to be very simple and very crude, but it was also very effective. More than 1,000 people went up the stage to fight. Only 80 people would be left on the stage. One could imagine how intense the battle would be and how the situation would change. Being strong didn't mean that one would be able to stay until the end. One needed luck. Of course, when one was strong enough, one didn't need luck to defeat the others and stay until the end. Moreover, there was a condition. The number of people working together couldn't exceed 3. This was also a form of protection and a restriction. What he was afraid of was that there would be many experts joining forces. If more than 10 top experts joined forces and swept away the others, how could he play? If only 3 people worked together, the restriction would be great. Furthermore, teams are not allowed to work together against the enemy. The middle-aged great emperor added. Some people thought that the hope of several teams working together was dashed. Alright, these are the rules. Let's begin. The middle-aged great emperor announced. Swoosh! Swoosh! More than 1,000 young supreme talents flew up the stage. However, after flying up the stage, they separated from each other and stared at each other cautiously. The stage was huge. It was 100 miles long and wide. With more than 1,000 people on the stage, it seemed very spacious. Countless people watched nervously from all directions. Let's work together. How about you and I work together? On the stage, there wasn't a huge battle immediately. Instead, they communicated with each other and planned to work together. Swoosh! Swoosh! Their figures flashed, and many people began to join forces. 3 people in a group. More and more groups appeared on the stage. Lu Ming saw Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, Autumn Moon, and Huang Ling teaming up. Bubbles, Huang Ling, and Luo Tianyi were in a group, with Bubbles as the core. Then, Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, and Autumn Moon were in a group. Long Chen, Huang Li, and Luo Xiang were in a group. Ouyang Wushuang and the 2 powerful king bodies who joined the Dragon Alliance at Yuan Mountain were in a group. On the other side, Lu Ming saw Wu Liang, Wu Yu, and Wu Chen in a group. Of course, it was impossible for everyone to form a group of 3. Some of them had 2 people, while others only had 1 person. For example, Death Blade, Mu Yang, Yuan Xian, and the Ancient Demon were all in a group. They looked around coldly. Get down! Suddenly, a loud roar rang out. Someone had begun to attack. You'll be the ones to go down. Boom! Boom! An intense collision sounded. Someone was fighting a great battle. Pull a strand of hair, and the whole body moves. When one person moves, the whole body moves. The fighting ring immediately fell into a chaotic battle. As long as he could knock his opponent off the stage, he would have more confidence in staying on the stage. The 3 of them weren't weak. The leader had a king-type body and had reached the peak of the absolute saint realm. As for the other 2, although they didn't have king bodies, their spiritual bodies were superior sky spiritual bodies, and their cultivations had reached the absolute saint realm. The 3 of them launched a torrential attack on Lu Ming at the same time, wanting to blast him down in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, they were too slow when they passed through the passage. They didn't see Lu Ming use the law of death, so they didn't know that Lu Ming was an Elysian child. During this period of time, many people had inquired about some of the famous Elysian children, including their appearances. However, they had never seen Lu Ming before. You'll be the ones to get down. Lu Ming glanced at the 3 people coldly. Death Qi filled his eyes. The 3 people's attacks collapsed under the death Qi. Oh no, it's the law of death. He's a death child. The 3 people shouted in horror. They wanted to retreat. But Lu Ming used the eyes of death. The death Qi became thicker and enveloped the 3 people. The 3 people screamed in agony. It was as if their lives were being taken away. Spare us. We admit defeat. We admit defeat. The 3 people yelled. Lu Ming's heart moved, and the death Qi disappeared. The 3 people hurriedly rushed down the battle stage. They were afraid that Lu Ming would kill them. The 100-mile-long battle stage looked huge when there wasn't a battle. However, it felt very small when there was a chaotic battle. With their current strength, they could move more than 100 miles in an instant. Lu Xiangxiang and the others were in a group of 3. They performed very well and were very strong. In the past 3 years, Emperor Notionless and the others had brought them to the corresponding secret places to cultivate. Their progress could be described as fast. Bubble's cultivation had already reached the boundary Emperor realm. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Huang Li, and the others were all boundary emperors. Only Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were slightly weaker. However, they were also peak saints. Moreover, their law of death had reached 99%. They were only one step away from the boundary Emperor realm. However, they were Elysian children. Their battle strength was shocking. They were stronger than boundary emperors with king bodies. Wherever they passed, the experts were knocked off the battle stage. Not many people were able to fight them. Humph, Lu Ming's disciples, scram. Mu Yang targeted Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and Autumn Moon. His figure flashed as he charged toward the 3. Be careful. Qiu Yu warned. Her body was exchanging heat and cold. One side was blazing hot while the other side was cold. They interweaved, producing a terrifying destructive force that blasted towards Mu Yang. At the same time, the light of law covered her body. The law of yin and yang flowed like a river. Greenwood sky raising. Lu Xiangxiang waved her small hand, and an ancient green tree appeared. It covered the sky and was incomparably huge, and it pressed down on Mu Yang. At the same time, Ouyang Moli slashed out with the reincarnation halberd. 6 reincarnation vortexes followed the reincarnation halberd and slashed toward Mu Yang. You want to stop me with just the 3 of you? Die! Mu Yang shouted. With a wave of his hand, the law of nothingness vibrated. Rays of nothingness light shot toward the 3. Boom! 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 3 explosions sounded. Autumn Moon, Lu Xiangxiang, and Ouyang Moli's attacks all collapsed. Under the law of nothingness, they turned into nothingness. It had to be said that Mu Yang's strength was very shocking. He had already started to form a small world and stood at the peak of the boundary Emperor realm. Autumn Moon had a king body. Although she was also at the peak of the boundary Emperor realm, it was difficult for her to fight against Mu Yang. As for Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli, their cultivations had yet to break through to the boundary Emperor realm. Even if they worked together, they were not Mu Yang's match. Your master is dead. I'll send you to accompany him. Mu Yang sneered and charged toward Lu Xiangxiang and the other 2. The 3 tried their best to block, but they were still at a disadvantage and were in imminent danger. Not far away, Bubble and the others wanted to help, but there were rules. They were in groups of 3 and the others could not interfere. They could only watch anxiously. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Chapter 2102. Swoosh. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed forward. He did not attack Mu Yang because if he did, it would mean that he and Xiangxiang's group had broken the rules. He directly charged towards the people behind Mu Yang. There were other prodigies of the Mu family there. Kill. Lu Ming charged towards a group of 3. They were all prodigies of the Mu family, and 2 of them had king bodies. The Mu family was powerful. Not only did they have Mu Yang, a son of heaven, but they also had 2 king bodies. They were extremely powerful. Before Lu Ming arrived, the terrifying light of death had already enveloped the 3 Mu family experts. The 3 Mu family prodigies were shocked and tried their best to resist. But Lu Ming instantly knew, and the light of death once again burst out from his eyes. This was the eyes of death, a terrifying divine ability with astonishing killing power. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming's eyes emitted beams of light. They were like combat weapons, emitting sonorous sounds as they charged toward the other party. There was a miserable scream. Among the 3 Mu family prodigies, one of them did not have a king body and his cultivation was slightly weaker. He was directly killed, and his body was cut into several pieces. Even the 2 king bodies were seriously injured. If not for their extremely strong cultivation at the Boundary Emperor realm and the laws surrounding their bodies like a river, they would have been killed. Even so, there were a few more wounds on their bodies, and blood flowed out. The light of death attached to the wounds, wanting to deprive them of their vitality. Then, Lu Ming slammed down with his palm, and the 2 Mu family prodigies vomited large mouthfuls of blood and retreated. Mu Yang, save us! A Mu family prodigy with a king body roared, revealing a terrified expression. Brat, you're courting death. Mu Yang let out a long howl. He abandoned Lu Xiangxiang and the rest and charged toward Lu Ming. I've been waiting for you. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up as a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. In his hand, the law of death turned into a sword light and slashed out. This sword light not only contained the law of death, but also the law of devouring and the law of array Dao. Its power skyrocketed, and the 2 Mu clan king bodies could not block it at all. With 2 screams, 2 heads flew high into the air, and blood sprayed 10 meters high. How dare you! You're courting death. Outside of the battle platform, there were also cultivators from the Mu clan watching the battle. At this moment, they were roaring like mad lions, filled with killing intent. 2 of the Mu clan's king physiques had died. To the Mu clan, this was an earth-shattering event. The price was too great. Their hearts were bleeding. Generally speaking, those with king bodies had the potential to become great emperors. Such geniuses were simply too precious. But now, all of them had been slain at the same time. However, although the Mu clan was furious, they didn't dare to attack in this kind of situation. They could only watch helplessly, hoping that Mu Yang would kill Lu Ming and avenge the Mu clan's king body. After Lu Ming killed the 2 Mu clan's king body cultivators, his figure flashed, and like a flash of lightning, he rushed towards Mu Yang. Now that Mu Yang had abandoned Xiang Xiang and the others, he could naturally attack. Die, brat! Mu Yang roared, using the law of nothingness, and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming also attacked with his palm. Boom! Their attacks collided, but the result was that Mu Yang's body shook violently, and he was forced to retreat. On the battle platform, the spectators were shocked. Especially the Mu clan's cultivators. How could Mu Yang be defeated? Mu Yang was known as one of the seeded cultivators this time. He was extremely powerful and had already begun to develop a small world. When he lost to Lu Ming, it was because Lu Ming was too abnormal. But now, the Son of Death had appeared out of nowhere and was able to suppress Mu Yang. There are too many experts in the world. There are many hidden geniuses that we don't even know about. Yeah, the seeded cultivators from before are not the strongest. No one knows how many stronger geniuses there are in the dark. What is this Son of Death called? His strength is astonishing. I think his name is Tianyun. He used that name to register. Some people were discussing. Roar! On the battle platform, Mu Yang roared. He was actually forced to retreat, which made him furious. The aura on his body became even more berserk as he attacked Lu Ming fiercely. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming faced the enemy directly, exchanging blows with Mu Yang. After a dozen moves, Lu Ming had completely suppressed Mu Yang. Mu Yang's body kept retreating, and the law of nothingness on his body seemed to be penetrated by Lu Ming. Bang! In the end, Lu Ming's palm broke through Mu Yang's defense and landed on his body. Mu Yang cried out miserably as his body flew out, and he vomited blood. Mu Yang, is that all you have? How can you be called a seated cultivator? What a joke! Lu Ming sneered as he strode towards Mu Yang. I will kill you. Mu Yang's eyes were red. The saint force on his body boiled, and the law of nothingness poured into his body from the void, emitting a brilliant radiance. Sea of Nothingness. Mu Yang used his strongest move, forming the Sea of Nothingness and enveloping Lu Ming. Die for me. Mu Yang seemed to have gone mad as he crazily controlled the Sea of Nothingness. The Sea of Nothingness let out rumbling sounds as it evolved into various terrifying attacks that wanted to turn everything in the Sea of Nothingness into nothingness. Nearby, there were a few people who did not manage to dodge and were directly sucked in by the Sea of Nothingness. They let out mournful screams as they turned into nothingness. Dong! Dong! But, within the Sea of Nothingness, a terrifying rumbling sound rang out, like the sound of a drum. The Sea of Nothingness began to churn violently. Mu Yang's expression changed as he tried his best to control the Sea of Nothingness. But it was useless as the Sea of Nothingness's trembling became more and more intense. Finally, with a boom, it exploded, and a figure stepped out from within. It was Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming roared, his killing intent surging as he charged towards Mu Yang. He was determined to kill Mu Yang. Mu Yang's expression was ugly as he quickly retreated, not daring to fight with Lu Ming. Scram, scram. Mu Yang fled frantically, and anyone who blocked his path was either killed by him or sent flying off the stage. But he still could not escape. Soon, Lu Ming caught up to him. He could only do his best to fight, but after a few moves, Lu Ming's attack landed on his body. Mu Yang was sent flying, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood as his body nearly exploded. How can this be? Tianyin's law is clearly not complete and has not reached Quasi-Emperor yet. How can he be so strong? Even Mu Yang can't block him? Someone was stunned. On the surface, Mu Yang's cultivation was indeed stronger. They were both sons of heaven, so how could there be such a huge difference in their battle strength? That little guy doesn't just control the law of death. He also controls other laws. This is the fusion of laws. An emperor spoke, his voice filled with shock. Although Lu Ming could fuse several laws together and hide them well, ordinary people would not be able to see through them. But what kind of people were emperors? Naturally, he could not hide it from them. As long as they paid attention, they would be able to see through it. What? He fused several laws together? This is too monstrous. He can actually control several laws under martial emperor. Chapter 2103. For someone below the martial emperor realm to be able to control several types of laws and merge them together, it was beyond imagination. Not only the ordinary people, but even the great emperor realm old men were shocked. Of course, Lu Ming did not cast the law of chaos. If he did not cast it, of course, they would not be able to tell. If they saw that Lu Ming had mastered two types of ultimate laws, he wondered what kind of expression they would have. Also, this little guy has used a disguise technique. Very clever. A great emperor whispered. It was naturally impossible for Lu Ming's divine breathing technique to deceive a great emperor. However, these great emperors had never seen him before. Although they could see that he had used a disguise technique, they did not know Lu Ming's real identity. Lu Ming sent Mu Yang flying and continued to attack him. At that moment, Mu Yang no longer had any intention to continue fighting. He only wanted to escape. However, he was not willing to rush down the fighting stage and admit defeat. Because if he could pass this selection, he would obtain a great opportunity and be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. I must hold on. As long as I pass this selection, I will be able to enter the martial emperor realm. At that time, I will skin this little guy alive. Mu Yang roared in his heart. However, at the next moment, he was scared out of his wits. This was because Lu Ming had attacked again. He had broken through Mu Yang's defense with one move and bombarded his back. Blood splattered everywhere. There was a huge hole in Mu Yang's body. Of course, such an injury could only severely injure Mu Yang and could not kill him. Mu Yang fell to the ground like a dead dog. His eyes were filled with fear. Now, even if he wanted to rush down the fighting stage and admit defeat, he could not do so. Stop, little guy. Mu Yang is our Mu clan's peerless genius. If you dare to kill him, you will be buried with him. Outside the fighting stage, an expert from the Mu clan shouted at the top of his lungs. Mu Yang was the son of the heavens and had unparalleled talent. He could not die. The Mu clan's expert could not wait to attack the fighting stage and kill Lu Ming. Shut up. Are you going to interfere with the Battle of the Ten Lands? The middle-aged great emperor coldly glanced at the experts of the Mu clan, causing their faces to turn ugly, and they obediently shut their mouths. The middle-aged emperor was from one of the overlords of Destiny City. Moreover, the Battle of the Ten Earths was organized by the great emperors of the various regions. No one had the right to interfere. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he walked towards Mu Yang. Enough. At this moment, a cold and aloof voice could be heard from behind Lu Ming. An indifferent and arrogant voice could be heard. An extremely powerful pressure was exerted on Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt as if there was a wild beast staring at him from behind, ready to unleash a fatal blow at any time. Lu Ming slowly turned around and saw a young man walking toward him step by step with his hands behind his back. Yuan Xian. The son of chaos, Yuan Xian. Yuan Xian had a slender figure and a handsome appearance. With his hands behind his back, he had an invincible aura. This was indeed the case. He walked on the battle platform as if he was taking a stroll. No one dared to make a move against him. That was because Yuan Xian was known as one of the strongest in the younger generation of the Yuanlu. He was extremely terrifying. Yuan Xian, help me kill him. Help me kill this brat. Mu Yang shouted excitedly when he saw Yuan Xian. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Yuan Xian didn't say anything. He continued walking slowly towards Lu Ming. His pace wasn't fast, but with every step, his aura grew stronger. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. He could sense a sense of danger from Yuan Xian. Yuan Xian is about to make a move. Many people's eyes lit up around the battle platform. Even many of the older generation's figures were interested. The son of chaos, Yuan Xian, was famous for his fighting prowess. He was extremely powerful, and the other sons of heaven had to bow their heads before him. He was on par with the Destiny's Child and was known as one of the strongest. Mu Yang and Yuan Xian are good friends. It's normal for Yuan Xian to make a move when Mu Yang is injured. Then Tianyun is in trouble. He has no chance against Yuan Xian. I hope he can last until the end of the selection. Otherwise, it would be a pity if such a genius didn't pass the selection. Many people thought that Lu Ming would most likely not be Yuan Xian's match and would be defeated. Son of chaos, I want to see your true strength. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. A sharp light flashed in his eyes and his battle intent filled the air. Although he had fought with Yuan Xian during the Primal Chaos Sex assessment, there were many restrictions at that time. Their cultivations were suppressed to the same level. Even their divine skills and bloodlines were suppressed. They couldn't use their true strength. Since you want to see, I'll let you see. Yuan Xian said coldly. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming, throwing out a punch. This punch was as powerful as an ancient divine mountain. It whistled through the air and directly pierced through it. This punch was extremely terrifying. An ordinary one-star martial emperor would find it difficult to block it. Boom! Lu Ming took a step forward and his body swayed like a huge dragon. His powerful physical strength erupted completely. His saint force surged and blasted out along his arm. It was also a punch. Lu Ming also used the law of death, the law of devouring, and the law of array for this punch. The two fists heavily collided. The entire fighting platform rumbled violently. The void trembled as a terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Some youths nearby were hit by the energy. They vomited blood and were sent flying off the fighting platform. The expressions of some of the stronger geniuses changed drastically. Their figures flashed as they dodged the attack. Both of their bodies trembled and swayed. The first move didn't determine the victor. You have some strength. Let's see how many moves you can take. Yuan Xian's expression didn't change when he didn't push Lu Ming back. The law of primal chaos spread out from his body, making his aura even more oppressive. Boom! Boom! Yuan Xian's fists continued to bombard Lu Ming. Streams of fist force smashed toward Lu Ming like meteorites. Eyes of death. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with radiance. Rays of light shot out like weapons and slashed at Yuan Xian's fist energy. These rays of light didn't only contain the law of death but also other laws. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. It was difficult to determine the victor. Yuan Xian is indeed strong. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Now, he had merged three types of precepts. Although his mastery of the Edict of Death and the Edict of Devouring had yet to reach the limit, when the three types of precepts burst out, in addition to his spiritual body and saint energy, his combat strength was extremely shocking. Yet, it was still difficult to do anything to Yuan Xian. He realized that Yuan Xian's physical body was also shockingly strong. It wasn't much weaker than his. However, Lu Ming still had the law of primal chaos. The law of primal chaos was already at 99% completion. Once he used the law of primal chaos and merged it with the law of death, the combination of the two strongest laws would skyrocket. However, now was not the time to expose it. In the blink of an eye, after a few more moves, the two of them had exchanged blows and both of them took a few steps back. Your combat strength is indeed strong. Unfortunately, your cultivation is too weak. You are no match for me. Up until now, Yuan Xian's eyes finally revealed a glimmer of light. Boom! You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.